still have 2 more matches left to play before we call it a night. I'm your host, Golden Boy, joined by Brennan Sideshow. Now, we've got the Florida Mayhem going up against the Seoul Dynasty. Now, here's the thing. The Seoul Dynasty, they've been struggling right now in Stage 4. It hasn't really been the best performance for a team that calls themselves the Dynasty. When they arrived at the league, they had, 2 Apex wins, which Apex was one of the biggest competitions, if not the biggest competition before the league launch. And then they've missed every title match since then. And to be completely honest with you guys, they've been kind of mediocre overall. And you can see it here in the overall standings. Now they sit in a 7th place position, fighting for their tournament lives.
Absolutely, Golden Boy. They're in 7th place, which is good for them because it does mean that they are still in control of their destiny. However, to avoid falling out of contention, every match matters now for them. Every map and every win, they need to basically claw their way up and reclaim a couple of the points away from, Valiant and Gladiators, who are currently above them when it comes to that. So it is tricky right now. If you look at the Pacific Division in particular, looking at that, this is one that we assume Seoul are going to be locking up easily. Not the case now.
That's true. The LA Valiant have run away with this one. 23 wins, their recent win over the Gladiators as well. They're looking great, but the Seoul Dynasty, very, very difficult for them to be able to catch that buy into the semifinals. But as you said, 7th place overall. So these are must-win games coming up now for Seoul. Yeah. They have to be able to win here against Florida, and they really need to be able to take down guys like the Fuel, the Fusion, who they're contesting that middle spot with. You can see it's a little bit of a tough road as they get later in the season. They do have Boston there and Mayhem for this week, which are winnable games if you're Seoul. But they're not just winnable, they're must win. You have to be able to hit those.
Yeah, absolutely important for the Dynasty to get these wins today. Similarly to what we saw with the Houston Outlaws, right? Like, they need the wins. It's very important for them to continue to keep this one going here. And given their history in Apex, how big of a disappointment would it be if the Seoul Dynasty don't make the playoffs?
That would be massive, utterly enormous. As you said, coming into it with 2 Apex championships, these guys won Apex Season 2 and Apex Season 3. That's like the Overwatch League before the Overwatch League happened. Yeah. These guys were the kings of Overwatch. Not quite
Gods
before,
among men.
but they were considered one of the best teams in the world, and everyone had high expectations coming in. You cannot think about them in that way anymore. You should be thinking about them as a mid-table team, possibly the underdogs of all the teams that are trying to get into the playoff race right now. So this is less about the Stage 4 playoff race. It's more about watching giants of the scene, some names that everyone should be familiar with, as they struggle with the recent results that they're having and desperately try and claw their way back in. We've seen what they can do in playoffs before. They could still turn it around. But at the moment, this is the toughest time for Seoul Dynasty yet.
Yeah, and while Seoul have been slumping recently, they still have 1 win in Stage 4, whereas the Mayhem, they have yet to find one. And we talk about the Dynasty and when they were formerly known as Lunatic High and the pedigree that lineup had. But Florida Mayhem can also be in that same discussion as well. One of the top EU teams at the time, and then they come into the league and they just flounder. I mean, what's been going on? Where can Florida find an advantage today?
Well, today, if you look at the maps, it's not pretty for Florida in general. These taken over the last 3 months, these statistics, and Florida, they got a 0% win rate on 3 of them today. Now, Blizzard World coming into this as well. Seoul are not too great on both Hanamura and Blizzard World. Again, below 50% win rate in the last 3 months. Hanamura is an opportunity for Florida to take it away from them if they play up to a higher standard, if they really sort of fix the mistakes they've been having on a regular basis. So that is where I'm looking for Florida in general. Hanamura a must-win for them, really, in this situation.
Sure, and when you look at that Hanamura 2-5-1, you might think, oh, they're not that great at it, though. But only 2 weeks ago, for a team at the bottom end of the table, they were able to tie the NYXL on this map. So they are not a bad team on Hanamura, particularly. They've got some decent rotations on the defense. That's how they need to get into the game, as Brent's saying.
Yeah, that's right, and it's all going to depend on who they will be fielding. So I think this is a great opportunity to bring out our first squad. Let's welcome to the stage the Florida Mayhem. Florida are coming into this match 6-28 in the regular season and winless in stage 4. And if you are Florida, I would say Sayaplayer is your saving grace, but we do not see him. We see Logic. What gives?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. They put Logics in. You know, we always big up Sayaplayer as one of the core members of this squad, but today they're going with a bit of a different approach. And honestly, I'm a fan of it because it actually shows that they're going to be swapping things up. If it hasn't been working with Sayaplayer in the team in the past when he's been playing so well, now they put Logics in, they can start to, I guess, utilize a larger hero pool out of him, maybe put him onto the Zarya role, start to run more tank-based compositions. So if you are a Florida fan, this is promising for now, you know, it's very promising.
It's promising as long as you assume that they have a game plan going into it, right? You have to give them the credit that they've put some kind of research in or they know what they're going for. But I agree with you that Logic's likely to be playing the Zarya at some point in this map. This hints to me that they're going to be running more tanky compositions, perhaps the triple tank, triple support that we saw come out previously when we were watching the former game of Outlaws v Shanghai, or maybe they're just going to opt for more Junkrat rather than the double sniper. Either way, interesting that they come out with what is presumably a crafted strategy for King's Row.
Yeah, that is what you're going to be hoping for if you are a Florida fan. Have they put in the homework as they get ready for this match and seek that first win here in stage 4? But now it's time to welcome their opponents to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Seoul Dynasty. Only a win against the Shanghai Dragons in this stage, but still competing for that Pacific Division. Who has to step up for Seoul for them to be able to get to the playoffs and get some W's on the board?
I think it's got to be Fleta, right? He's the guy that we've seen him in the past, has been able to hard carry teams. For the Seoul Dynasty, they haven't been able to set him up in the best positions at times, but that's who I'm looking at to have a star-level performance here and start to get right back up to his peak. Obviously, the rest of the team, though, still has to play well around it.
Yeah, I like the movements that Seoul have been making recently in terms of their team, who they're fielding in these matches, because now they seem to be sticking to a more solid structure. They're using Gambler alongside Ryu Jae-hong as a support duo.
Not a main tank anymore.
Yeah, not a main tank anymore, which is great. And, you know, speaking of the main tanks, Kuki coming in, frankly, I'll be honest, he's not a top-level main tank, but the fact that he can now fulfill that role, they can work on using and implementing him more into the team means that I can only imagine him getting better and better as time goes on here. And it is fantastic now that they have really narrowed down the selection of what roles everyone's playing, because that is the first step to really starting to get some wins under their belt. And it is making decisions and sticking with a lineup that they know that they can win with.
Hey, when you have a plan and when you're able to have people fall into those roles, it is so pivotal for you to just continue to improve and improve and improve, especially considering that they're looking to get into the playoffs. But now it's time to get going for our second match of the day. We have the Florida Mayhem and the Seoul Dynasty, so let's send it over to your casters. It's Uber and Mr. X.
Hello, everybody. Good to be back here in the Blizzard Arena. Yeah, I hear you out. There was both of these two teams, Matt, it has been a rough stage 4 for. There is one win between both of these two rosters. 0 and 4, of course, for the Mayhem. 1 and 4 for Seoul. But we definitely have to think that the Mayhem are definitely looking weaker coming into this.
Oh, without a doubt. They definitely are. I think Seoul Dynasty, now that they put Kuki back in the lineup, upgrade over Miro and Jae-hong, who is kind of like filling in until they figured out what they wanted to do at main tank. He has looked good. We'll see if they can get another win here today against Florida, and they need these wins. I know they got the one against Shanghai this week. Now we'll see them go up against the Mayhem.
And if the Mayhem want to get a win in this series, they're going to have to win on maps that they haven't won yet in this stage, which is always quite a hurdle to overcome. Now, it was mentioned on the desk, actually, their Hanamura performance was quite good. In fact, even against the New York Excelsior, they put up an excellent fight. It seems like this team, this roster, the Mayhem, definitely likes to lean into defensively biased maps or into teams that sort of like to run it up a little bit slower. But it's not certain that Seoul are going to play into that sort of strategy. We know what kind of aggression they can bring. With Wakita in the roster as well, we've seen them on a multitude of different picks that can break them apart.
And with Fleta on the other side, like, why is Sayaplayer not in the game? If you're going to play, if he's going to play Widowmaker, you're going to need a Widowmaker to counter him. Obviously, I know Logic's a good Widowmaker, but Sayaplayer ranks, amongst the best, right? So, still some questionable, at least in my opinion, questionable decisions from the Florida Mayhem.
I'll be honest with you, and I wonder if it is a communication basis on which they sort of make these switches, but you've got to think by now that a player like Sayaplayer has been sort of integrated into this roster to such a degree that he can be a staple. I think he should be. He's the most consistent individual on this team.
Yeah, you could make a strong argument he's been the best player that they've brought into this roster, right? I know overall.
A great pickup.
Great pickup. It'll be, we won't see him in map number 1. Maybe we see him as time goes on. Soul on defense, not too surprising. I know they'll have Orisa, Junkrat, Mercy Zen, pretty much the standard now in terms of supports. Zunban, D.Va, and then Fleta will play the Widowmaker. So let's see how long Tvik stays on this Pharah playing into the Widow. You know, a lot of points you can make Pharah work against Widowmaker. We see it on Dorado, but there's a lot of nice cover for the Pharah. Not as much here, right? You have to just kind of fly in the air up into the point.
You can see Tvik already takes a glancing blow, and Logie Bear decides that the picnic baskets are going to be easiest taken if he plays that Tracer. Awesome Guy already in fairly deep. You actually notice he's essentially playing on his own now. Rotating back with the rest of his team. He knew there was a mega health pack in there. Opts to take that and not give Zeba that extra heal. Just for safety, perhaps. Wakid knocked Skyward here, and he's actually in a bit of trouble being juggled somewhat. He's trying to huddle behind Zumba, but Zumba can't protect him from Tvik sort of raining down a lot of this damage onto him from this position. No one is really pressuring him out here.
Yeah, Florida did a really nice job here creating the space. They pushed Fleta and the rest of Seoul Dynasty away from the point. Now they have a good chance of potentially taking this. It's going to be a res that comes in from Gambler here on Akuki, but it's Jaehong. He takes out Manathin, gets him demeched, and then it's pick here on the Logics. Those are 2 big kills there from Jaehong. It may have saved them the point.
Zul'Pen wanted to stick around and kind of fight this duel, but Fleta returns to that engagement quickly enough and sends a warning shot over. I feel like, Tvik playing up so close to that corner, sort of, on the left-hand side, close to the point, forced Fleta away. Fleta didn't have safe sightlines. You don't want to be shooting directly up at an enemy Pharah if you're a Widowmaker. You want to put some distance in between you and the Pharah while still having clear sightlines. So Fleta actually had to back up into the second phase of the map and try and peek over the top. Did find the kill. The rest is history now, where Soul managed to break in and control.
And they're just letting Fleta, though, from range here, just get so much damage down, though, Mitch. I mean, right now it's sitting at 43% of their overall team damage, and they're playing with a Junkrat, right? So you can see the amount of work that he's able to do here.
All right, some tech is there from Awesome Guy, turning away from Fleta as he jumps in his direction. He doesn't want to get taken down by a headshot, but Logix falls to a Riptide from Wakid, and that is just going to be the Mayhem pulling the plug pretty much straight away here. And the tough thing for the Mayhem is, like, how do we control Fleta? Like, okay, we're not playing Sombra anymore, so it's not really as if we can sneak Logix up behind and, try and get him to put a bunch of damage, force a grappling hook. Awesome Guy has to choose between trying to dive on, Fleta, or trying to do the normal thing, which is to jump on top of the Orisa and
yeah, I mean, this is where you miss having your own Widowmaker. And not to say Logix or Tvik can't play Widow, it's just choosing not to.
Well, they're not, yeah. Well, it's the same thing, really. The impact is the same. Zebasai walks into that one. Fleta, he's uncontested in this position. Finally, Logix decides to try and do something about it, but the fight's long since been lost. It's already over. And there were ultimates committed to that one by the Florida Mayhem as well.
I mean, they do have 4 players here, Florida. It'll be a Transcendence used by Zupe as they want to get aggressive. Tvik makes a switch over to Genji, so you can see, after the Rocket Barrage, want to move away from the Pharah. So it'll be Florida who gets on the point. They have both tanks here. Now Zebasai's back in the mix. You're going to have both support ults here, Riptire and Self-Destruct, though, for Seoul Dynasty. They should be able to hold this point.
Wakid sent the Riptire in. I think Logix was trying to flank around and find Wakid before he could do this, but obviously that didn't happen. And Zebasai got to the point, but Zupa had to use his Transcendence to even get the Mayhem onto the point. He didn't use it inside of a team fight, strictly speaking, just to keep them safe while they approached. Matt, if you're using support ultimates to try and get past or get through the poke and spam of a defending team,
but that's like
you're not getting value out of it.
Right. But to be in a position where you have to use support ultimates to get through chokes, that is it's because your comp is not optimal to get through the choke.
You can't poke them back and force them out of these easy sightlines. Fleta's we're just mailing it in right now. It doesn't have to do too much. Air mailing it, of course, as these shots are coming in. You don't have to worry about it. Quick turn there again. I like Awesome Guy's awareness of where Widowmakers are. Unfortunately, that doesn't help him in sort of dealing with the threat. Fleta, not really bothered at all by the self-destruct going in over the top there, and now they can set up. Zumba has a self-destruct of his own. He's low, be able to get his mech back. Fleta trying to get to safety. He's not going to quite get out. Finally, Awesome Guy's actually able to commit and find the Widowmaker. This could be the start of Mayhem's round.
So it'll be a self-destruct from Zumba that goes on to the point, but Awesome Guy in Primal Rage is able to get to, pushes Jaehong all the way back. It's not pretty, but Florida is able to get it done.
It was a hero switch there as well. Tvik now is playing that Genji. They're realizing that they're sort of got 1 foot in, you know, 1 foot in 2 different worlds, right? Logix was trying to play the Tracer, they had a Pharah as well, but they were so susceptible to Fleta in general.
Yeah, and I like the switch from Logix to go over to Widowmaker. We've seen Logix actually play really good Widowmaker.
Very entirely competent.
Yes, a very good Widowmaker. So, not on the level of like Fleta or Saya player, I would say.
I would say
no,
the consistency that he doesn't bring that they maybe do, which would do that. But we've
it's
seen
serviceable though.
Yes.
I mean, you can definitely make use of him on the hero.
The question remains, who is the best shot in that Widowmaker slot? Now, Wakid sends the Riptire in, and that just forces Florida back for a couple of moments. Wakid's not upset about that. He probably wants to use it a little bit later so that he can catch the Mayhem while they're committing to a fight positioning-wise. But not too worried now. Fleta's playing to the left-hand side. Logix doesn't quite know where he is right now. He might have heard the shots ring out. See, Kuki gets in there as well, very quickly, and stays alive. Zunba is able to use the space made by Kuki to find Zebasai. Beautiful.
Yeah, Kuki goes in. He has Primal Rage to get out if he needs it. He saves it. It'll be Jaehong here. He uses Transcendence. Tvik not able to get anything. He's going using the blade to get back to the spawn faster. Looks like we're going to see a switch.
Not satisfying for Tvik at all. I mean, he couldn't get a reset. If you don't get rolling on Genji with Dragon Blade, you're not usually going to have big clips, but Transcendence at least came out.
What was nice from Kuki as well is that when he gets back, Zumba's right there and using the defense matrix. He doesn't have to use Primal Rage. And then Gambler can just pocket him, get all of that percentage towards Valkyrie by healing him up. So really nice play there from Kuki. He's going on the sneaky flank again. His time off, he probably watched some videos of how Fraggy plays, right? Just walking around here on the flank.
I mean, you can jump back to your team with this, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Manhattan, D-Suit, self-destruct, use, and Logix is down to Fleta, so the Mayhem are already down to 5, and Fleta has a bit of extra information here.
But now you got absolutely nothing from Zebasai's Valkyrie. He used Valkyrie to have his D.Va get demeched, and then he gets shot right out of the sky. Zupe there dies to a self-destruct, so now you don't have Transcendence to keep the fight going. It's Tvik in danger of getting staggered out here as well. Not looking good for Florida. Now Zeba is going to have to go over to Lucio.
Just for the speed. Again, Logix going down to Wakid there. Fleta doesn't even need to be called upon to deal with that. And now he sits this one here. This Riptide delays him for so long, potentially long enough to end the round.
It's super heads up though. That's going to force out Zupe's Transcendence. But because Wakid's playing so far up, he knows after he gets that kill, maybe somebody's coming after him, so he uses the Tyrant as a deterrent there. As kills going in favor of Seoul Dynasty. The payload's still moving a little bit, just because Awesome Guy's keeping it going with Primal Rage, but this is one that should go in favor of Seoul Dynasty. It's basically a 6-on-2 now on the payload.
Wakid's popping off now. I love the idea of using a Riptide for self-defense, and well, Seoul have done just that. Very solid hold. And for the Florida Mayhem, pretty unsatisfactory result on that attacking side. You want more than that. You want more value, in, especially out of a lot of these picks. Logix, 0 final blows. Yeah. Now, we talk about him, and he's put in the unfortunate position of maybe being here instead of a Saya player, for example. And if he doesn't show up, then it doesn't justify that particular substitution. Let's have a look back at one of the moments from earlier in this round. Wakid, just towards the end there, you can see this is an overtime, just going absolutely bonkers.
I mean, that's where I mentioned the, you know, the composition or the roster they had. Rather say that than what they had at the beginning of the game. If you wanted to play Tracer Widow, why would you not have Saya player in the game? It's like, he's one of your best on both of those heroes, right? So I think it's something they're still figuring out in terms of DPS rotation. It's been a while now, though, that they've had these players. So we'll see if they can get things sorted out. It is Manatin's birthday. I don't know if the Florida Mayhem were trolling me, but Manatin born on Dragon's Day. So happy birthday.
Yeah, he's born on Shanghai Dragon's Day. There you go, mark your calendars. I mean, he'd definitely like to come away from today with a win. I mean, the Mayhem have been starved for them.
Well, I mean, they play the Dragons next week, which is going to be a huge match.
I mean, we just saw what the Dragons, were able to sort of put up against Houston. I think they showed, that they are really starting to grow into their role here in the Overwatch League, albeit, it's pretty late in the day for that still. The Florida Mayhem, I mean, they're the kind of team that they've taken games off the Valiant before.
Yeah.
This is the Florida Mayhem squad that's shown themselves to be capable, but they had so much expectations on them as well, being sort of a top European team coming into the Overwatch League, but they have not reached.
I will say, though, every other team, really. I mean, even Shanghai, you do see improvement. The Mayhem are one of the teams that's kind of been the same kind of all the way through, right? Even Dallas Fuel, a team that's kind of had a rough go up until this point, looking much better. So I think Florida, be nice for them to have a final few weeks where they're able to turn around, get some positive momentum.
This is maybe one of the cases where you don't want your team to be consistent in this particular regard. All right, so the Mayhem actually play very close to the choke here. They're trying to get a lot of value out of their Brigitte. So far, it's enabled them to get Zumba desuited. Vic did die early, but Florida have managed to cover it up.
Yeah, it's a nice first fight win, though. They play really close and aggressive composition they have with the triple supports. And then, this is what I was going to say next. I was like, as soon as you see this, if you're Soul, Fleta plays one of his best heroes in terms of, you know, his Pharah play, right? So you come out, you play Pharah. What is to deal with this on the other side? I don't exactly trust Zupe.
It's all about that whip shot to knock Fleta out of the sky. I don't know where the extra damage comes from, but you know, we got step one sorted out. Point is, there's not a lot that interacts with Fleta, whereas he obviously can quite safely just do whatever he wants. And this is what happens when maybe you're playing a more narrow team composition. We saw it on the other half too, that Fleta gets to play a role that he's super comfortable with and not being threatened.
This is why teams play Widowmaker in the composition that the Florida Mayhem are playing, because then you just can't get picked off by a Pharah from range like this, or just the damage that Fleta puts down is just unreal here, so that everybody else can just move up and get easy kills.
And look at that, move on to the point now. This has been essentially a slow roll play. Florida are regrouping currently, and Zumba are actually pushed quite deep, not only for information to see if there's been a hero switch in the interim, but also just to delay. So now the Mayhem get back to the point, we just sort of max in here. They're going to try and stagger the tanks and try and make sure only one is taking the bulk of the damage at a time, so that Mercy can focus on healing them. Obviously, Zebasai trying to keep his team up.
If you're Seoul Dynasty, though, you don't have to get aggressive here, right? Just let us sit up in the sky, put down some damage, and then you're able to just push on in. That'll be a trade out. With Wiki taking out Awesome Guy, it'll be Jaehong who falls to Logics. You might be able to get this res, though, if you really need it, because Zupe actually, they use both their supports ults there. Now you're going to use Rally here as well for the Mayhem. That's a big investment.
Yeah, so all three support ultimates being used, but credit to the Mayhem, they didn't layer them all together at the same time. Zebasai went first with that Valkyrie, but he can't really protect Zupe from that one. Self-destruct comes down, the teams are in a 5v5 currently. Wiki hoping for a moment alone with Zebasai, just to reduce that life bar a little bit. There's Fleta in over the top of the barrage. Finding Zebasai may well be enough here. Awesome Guy's already used his Primal Rage. Florida have been forced to dig so deep into their pockets to try and stay in this fight. You see a cheeky little mega health pack pick up for Wakid, and he's ready to go back to the fight.
And Jaehong able to hold on to Transcendence for so long. Finally uses it there. It'll be Logix and Tamik, who still are alive, though. I'm trying to make this happen, but this is what when you play the Brigitte against the Pharah, things like that could happen. It's Logix, though, with a big pulse bomb on a Jaehong. A teammate there on Nzumba. Maybe that's enough to turn it around.
Yeah, they're not done yet. They don't get out here. I mean, getting Manatin desuited is pretty big. Zebasai actually managed to res him, so you almost don't want to kill Manatin in that situation, but you're trying to wipe the Mayhem off the point. Soul are actually having their own problems here, capturing point A.
They move off Tracer. I like that. Wakid not known exactly for his Tracer play. We see him play a lot of like Hanzo, Junkrat, Pharah as well.
More of that from Munchkin and Bunny.
Yes.
When Bunny was back in this roster, Munchkin still fills that role a lot of the time. So you can't do it perhaps, but maybe it's just not even necessary here.
I mean, they could even play Pharah Junkrat against this comp if they wanted to, right?
Well, this counter, I won't say counter, but this really is a strong pick against Florida's comp. Because Logix is on that Tracer, causing some problems. That's definitely where Logix gets to shine a bit on that role. So having the Brigitte here for Wiki makes it very risky business for Logix to go deep. Here's the Transcendence from Zupe in. Awesome Guy's already taken down, though. He was a couple of steps ahead of that Transcendence, and he's not going to get out alive. Nor is Zupe and Zebasai, while Amana both support the down. And Fleta's more than happy to play aggressively around a big barrage up close. Jaehong's going to get flattened here if he's not careful, as Tamik is chasing down. A lot of shield on him, but now the cavalry's here, and there's not much the She-Torp can really do to stand up against that. Awesome Guy's done well, getting Res back into the fight at the cost of Zebasai's life. But now Soul have a couple plays here on the point. Only 2 left, though. This could go either way. Fleta is here.
Yeah, they're trying to make a play to get rid of Fleta. Awesome Guy using Primal Rage, just trying to knock him back. Zunba does have a self-destruct to use here. It's going to be Wakid using a rally from the spawn, as Kuki using Primal Rage, trying to stay in this as well. They're trying to get Jaehong back to the point with this armor. He'll have a Transcendence to use.
This is actually looking good for the Florida Mayhem now. It's turned around. Pulsebomb on towards Wakid, and Zumba's desuited. Now it's just Kuki left, and Jaehong off towards the side. It's Vic with a Soldier 76 pick. There's no Reinhardt here, and he wanted to run back to the point as fast as he could. Somehow, some way, the Florida Mayhem are holding up in the heat. Kuki's pushing forward. He's looking for Logix, but he just takes a big step back and gets healed. I don't believe it. The Florida Mayhem again. They like to lean into those defensive compositions. They like a slower gameplay. They like to take control mid-fight, and they take the first map with a better hold.
Unbelievable there from Florida. They make a comp that doesn't exactly work well against the Florida, and they're able to, withstand all the damage that Flood is putting down. An impressive map 1 victory for the Mayhem.
Map 2 just around the corner. Stick around. This might be quite the interesting match.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Intel. Intel Core i7 powers the Overwatch League. T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
Seoul Dynasty could come up with a big clutch play here at the very end. Boom!
Beautiful.
Florida in a fantastic place to take this map. This is becoming a shooting gallery.
Awesome guy doesn't need to be told twice, man. He goes straight in, and the Mayhem can still win a fight outright. That's so big, man. It's in your filthy man.
Despite all odds, gaining a lot of momentum in this one.
We got your thrills, spills, kills, and explosions. The Florida Mayhem take map 1 in this series against the Seoul Dynasty.
Made no sense whatsoever.
Off the back of just some solid defense. So,
Yeah.
the question, who is to blame for this? It doesn't matter. Let's play a game, Matt.
Okay.
I enjoyed this last time we played it. Let's play, who's that Monkeymon? Last time we looked at 2 Winston players. Now let's look at 2 Winston players from the Florida Mayhem, Matt. You have to tell me which one is Awesome Guy, which one is Swoosh.
Let me look at this for a second.
TikTok, my boy.
All right, I am gonna say the Winston on the left. Winston A is Awesome Guy. I'm gonna go with Winston B being Swoosh.
All right, let's get the verdict in on that one.
All right.
Very close statistically speaking. No,
Oh!
it's Swoosh on the left. Statistically, you can see a lot of the numbers actually better for the Swedish boy there. So, we wondered what these two would be like and what the difference would be. You can see there's not a huge one, but your boy's got the numbers.
I believe that was in stage 4. those numbers. So I think we've seen Swoosh in one game so far throughout the stage. So
Well, I don't know if it's just over stage 4.
I believe the fine print did say stage 4.
Yeah, stage 4. Well, stage 4.
But
Okay.
still, I think you can make the case on the season, right? Looking at some of the numbers, those two players, very close. Map number 1 was pretty impressive from the Mayhem. They didn't play a great comp into what Soul was throwing at them, but they were able to make it work. They get, out-killed by about, I think, 12, and then out-damaged by about 10k, and healings within 1,000.
Right.
And they somehow win the game.
We're going to move on to Hanamura now. And the Florida Mayhem. I mean, you're not feeling terrible about this either. Florida
No,
have been
not at all.
solid on this map. And we were just talking about Seoul making that salty run back to the top of, or towards the top at least of the Pacific Division now. That ship could well get scuttled, right
Yes.
here. It could be, like the Titanic, but full of bears.
Another semi-pro reference. It's, in Golden Boys on the desk, we can only make the finest of movie reference.
No, I know. I dig it. It's a shame that boys didn't play off it yesterday, but...
So it's going to be Soul Dynasty running the same thing they ran on defense for Blizzard World. Let's see what... okay, do we see the offense of Orisa here? Nope. It'll be Awesome Guy playing. Okay, so they're going to go with a Sombra Genji dive. Okay, no, now Logix will switch off. So you'll have... this is going to be a pretty standard dive. Going to try and get onto the high ground.
I mean, this
is
is
what worked for Florida towards the end of the game.
Put the words right out of my mouth, mate. Exactly. So that's how they actually managed to make some headway on Blizzard World and break through. And ultimately, that was what, if you recall, wasn't that long ago, gave them the map win. So Logix is in, harassing Fleta already, who's beating me up, Scotty, he says, but I think he's actually walking towards Manatee who got desuited. So that dive doesn't work out, mostly because Wakid just, what's a nice way of putting this? Wrecks them.
Yep. They jump right into Wakid's Junkrat. I feel like we should put a tooltip in the game. It's like, hey, Junkrat's sitting there on the high ground.
Listen,
Don't run at him.
So you want that right next to too many tanks. You want don't run at Wakid. Okay, so also guy takes a big hit early. There might have been Fleta's involvement there as well, which would explain why Fleta was blindsided by Logix on the point. So good work, you got to do that. You got to blow up that tank early. Madison though finds Wakid early. That big threat kind of already reduced, but Fleta's playing up close and personal. A bit of CQB. Good job done. Awesome guy's been removed now. Logix is still going to be a threat. Remember, a fully charged body shot and a melee hit is enough for Fleta to get the job done, but Logix is slippery as heck. Fleta can still get out to safety though.
Florida's going to have a spawn advantage here. Wakid coming off the spawn. Logix still here. You have Tavik and Manitin alive too. It'll be Awesome Guy and Zebo who come back out of the spawn. They're now back in the fight. It's a big pulse bomb there from Logix. He connects on a Kuki, you get him down.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see from Logix as well. He played that excellent, great harassment, wasn't getting kills, but was definitely generating threat. And he's done! Oh! Wakid going back to the 90s, mate, playing some Hot Wheels, I like it. Tavik, awesome guy, I think it was Zupe as well, yeah, falling to Fleta afterwards.
I saw that. I saw that on the minimap happening right before my eyes. I hear the rip tire and I'm looking for it. And then I see Awesome Guy and Tavik dive in, Zebosai flying right after him. It's about an easy as a 3K you can get for Wakid with that rip tire.
All the way to the bank.
Although, now, the just lose lost.
Oh, Tavik, that's rough. See, his deflate might have helped, but he was more using deflate to keep him alive while he escaped, and Hulk was not allowed to do that.
I mean, maybe there's miscommunication there, because if you're going to res Logix, you probably just wait before just kind of diving into the high ground alone. So, let's see if Florida can get a good attempt here. You're going to have Transcendence, then you're going to have Valkyrie right after. Easy headshot from Fleta. So, well, now it thinks you burn the res, right? Because now you actually have to wait for Tavik to come off the spot.
Yeah, no worries, mate. 88% here on Fleta with that Infrasight, which would be handy, especially if they're trying to see Florida making those mid-round switches. I feel like Infrasight is much more relevant now that teams are actually making those switches. Also, so is scouting.
It's great for Junkrat, because then you know where players are coming from. You know you can get damage down with Rip Tire. You know.
Your boy Jay Hong's about to unleash on Logix. Finds him there. Fleta playing a very fine angle. Probably one he can't play without Infrasight. The foliage is going to obscure his vision. Oh, he was waiting for that T again. Fleta's so intently focused on trying to, sort of hit Zup as he comes out. He doesn't see himself getting hit from the side. That is a problem. Tunnel vision is the thing as Widow players. All right, so Cookie's bomb goes down.
You use Valkyrie to get in, though, and now you're going to have Transcendence and Valkyrie on the other side. You're going to use your own Transcendence. So now what is Tavik going to do with this blade? Gotta use it.
Stick it up the nose of Cookie, perhaps. The Hulk just sort of throwing him off kilter, but he still finds the kill on the Orisa. But Jay Hong and Fleta are getting work done. They're all on that right-hand side. They've moved off the point. They're getting kills, but there's still 4 players from the Mayhem there, and Zebasai most importantly. They do have healing, so Kuki needs to push up here, get aggressive, and hope to generate some space or distract from the fact that this Riptide's coming in hot. Doesn't quite get a kill on Zebasai, but Flatter had already found it. Manatin going for the cheeky resuit here, and Kuki's shield is down. He won't have that for another 6 seconds or so he's super vulnerable outside of the use of Fortify, and he's down to Manatin here. Awesome guy returning to the fight. Zunba's here. There's only 3 players left for Sol.
Florida should be able to take this, and Wakid using the Riptire, he went to go take out Zebo, and right when he popped it, Fleta actually connects with a headshot. Usually you're always happy with the headshots that Fleta puts down. That time though, you wasted the Riptire because you didn't end up picking up any kills with it. So Tavik is Doomfist, he'll go back to the spawn, switch things up.
What are we working with here? Widowmaker for Logics, which didn't really go off that well on Blizzard bot.
All right, we're gonna play Doomfist. You see the Brigitte on the other side? Yep. I thought we would see more Doomfist as a whole here in stage 4.
We got some great
A little bit.
Doomfist play in the Battle of LA. I thought that was quite a treat to see.
When players have selected Doomfist, he's been very effective. Doomfist is a hero that once you start to get rolling on him, and you start to build up some of the shield by landing some of the moves.
Oh,
charge.
Oh, it's so nasty. Tavik is in there. And now it's going to have to be a cheeky drop down. Yeah, but Zumba was desuited. Kuki had to fall down to the point. Tavik can just wait here and just, oh, okay, he's looking for Flatter right now. I like this, you know, don't let Flatter sort of get set up here, but now he's just doing the ring around the rose right now. Flatter, come back. Oh, yeah, he's getting a big hug. And now on the point, it's a Transcendence in play for Zumba. After Florida may have been able to use much of that one as they're actually fighting over in the opening. They've been pushed out by Kuki, who doesn't want to be here right now, that's for sure. Discord Orb straight at him. And now that Meteor Strike's available to Tavik, but they won't use it in this fight. They take a tick and they're happy with it.
So awesome guy does fall with Primal Range. Probably got the call. The fight was over. They didn't really have a chance to win it. So we'll see how they decide to use Meteor Strike. We used to see the good old Space Jam combo back in Contenders. The Meteor Strike, Graviton Surge combination. That's not available here. Obviously, no Zarya.
Zarya doesn't play all that nicely when you work with some verticality. Yeah, it's a bit hard to consistently have damage output. But Doomfist can still get a lot done on his own here. I want to see Awesome Guy primal range people into the radius of Meteor Strike. That's what I want to see. Okay, you're going to force people out of this position though as well. Jayhong, he's kind of aware that he's going to be looked for, so that's a forced Transcendence. That's so worth it.
Oh, that is a very good trade. If you're Florida, you end up using your own Valkyrie here as you bring Zupe back into the fight. So, oh no.
Oh, he got the headshot, but Key peeked out into it. Up close, I mean, that primary fire from Doomfist definitely does leave a mark. Logix, though, was taken down. Kuki finds a space in the fight to actually sort of go to the high ground and deal with Logix, which is going to take a lot of pressure off of Sol in the rest of this fight, as will that. Zupe now being down. We have seen ultimates drawn out of Sol here, but apart from that, they don't give too much more ground than they had prior.
Now you'll see Tavik switch off of Doomfist, so that experiment, although I thought pretty effective, they decided to move away from it as Tavik will play Tracer now.
Yep.
So
no
Brigitte on the other side, you figure you can get away with it?
He sort of found the reality stone and had to come back down to Earth and realize that this wasn't going to work.
Brigitte is now here on both sides.
We've seen Tavik play a reasonable amount of it.
Well, look at that. Wakid just answering every time. The guy's basically been playing from the spawn, just trying to figure out what Tavik plays.
The inscrutable mind of Tavik. I think some people need a diploma in that before they can really figure it out. Wakid as well on that Brigitte. Tavik watching him with. I don't know if he's going to nay though.
He's trying to block him as he comes down.
The Transcendence drop in. This is very direct, Matt. This is a very aggressive approach. Wakid doesn't fill up enough space. All right. Logix is set up here. You can see Wakid on the high ground. He's going looking for that Widow, but he's got to be careful. Yes, he has to drop down. He realizes he needs to just have a presence on the point because they've lost a lot of their big tank players here. Wakid drops in. Again, not much he can do there. Manatin sort of works his way around the shields, but doesn't get there in time. All right, Florida, you have my attention.
They completed it. That's all. That was their one goal there, right? You know, when you get that low on the clock, just complete the map. Now let's see if they can hold on defense. Their defense was really strong on Blizzard World. We're in about the same spot, you know, statistically as we were, you know, in the last half. A little bit more kills here for Seoul Dynasty.
I mean, these teams are separate by 50 damage.
Yeah.
So Seoul have done 50 more damage than the Mayhem. So, yeah, really.
And considering Seoul hit a Junkrat for a large stretch of the time, right?
Now, you can see that the Florida Mayhem have worked hard on their, you know, being able to put the caps back on their assorted drink receptacles effectively.
Swoosh had a problem with that.
Yeah, no, that's fine. They've all learned from him. kind of nice, you know, to learn from the teammates' mistakes, develop. Seoul aren't about that. They're not, you know, they don't need to drink. They're good.
I feel like outside of Shanghai, I feel like there's more pressure on Seoul than anybody else.
Well,
Like just for the expectations at the beginning of the season. For the Fuel, like, you know, they had a rough first 2 stages, so I think a lot of the expectations were just kind of tapered off then. And now they're actually playing very well.
Whoa.
It's like for Seoul Dynasty, like,
you don't name a team a dynasty for nothing, right? The fact is that a lot of these players walked into the Overwatch League with one already being built, right? With their success over in Apex. They talked about it on the desk earlier on. And it's the same for the Dallas Fuel. You saw the pressure that that had put on them as well, because these teams were ruling the roost before the Overwatch League came around and forced to adapt. And it's a harsh word out there, Matt. And for Seoul, this is now a game where they're kind of back up against the wall, even in map 2.
puts a large target on you when you come into the league as you know, one of the best teams in the world. But I'm sure there's a lot of teams that were forming before Overwatch League began that didn't play together, and what do? They watch a ton of Lunatic High, which is a lot of the Seoul Dynasty roster, a lot of Envious, which is the Dallas Fuel roster, right? You're able to learn from
the game
those.
changes at a blisteringly fast pace,
Yeah.
you know, relatively speaking. So trying to stay at the top is almost harder than getting there in the first place, I feel. So here's Seoul out the gates now. Got Jaehong on Moira. Matt, talk us through this comp.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to play triple tank, triple support. So we saw this the other day. I believe we just saw it in the last match. This is the comp that we were sitting down with Sideshow and Brent, saying the Beat Invitational. We saw a lot of this. You get these 3 supports in the point. You do a ton of AoE healing. You can charge up this Rein, the Zarya with the Rein. And then obviously Wiki can put down some damage as Brigitte.
And this is like the evolution of the Slambulance composition we see on Horizon, right? You add the Brigitte in there and you have a lot more disruption available to enemy tanks to really give yourself the edge. Look at Seoul, they can just walk in there, and now it's time for Jaehong just to get that Coalescence on. So much healing. Fletter on the D.Va, by the way. Manages to deal with Awesome Guy and Manatin's neck in one fell swoop, but now the Florida Mayhem are starting to come back in this fight. They've lost a lot of point progress, though. And they will now have a very slim margin of error when it comes to the next fight.
Yeah, now you did use Coalescence, but you have a rally for this next fight. So Simba gets weak.
Oh, I like that.
Nice
That's
play.
cute. Obviously, you know, your health pool is a resource as much as your ammunition is in Overwatch. Zumba realizes he can get himself out with the right foot, not stagger. Very aggressive. Logix knows he can play aggressively like this, by the way. If you look at the Seoul Dynasty composition, there's nothing that can get to him. So you need to get aggressive. You need to try and do something with that. But look, he gets no shots, and Seoul gets to walk in scot-free.
But Tavic's going to have another tire here, though. Already at 80% if they group up. Now you're going to have Zebo use Valkyrie, trying to heal everybody up. His Awesome Guy needs to play on the point, needs to contest. You go for Wakid, you get that Brigitte out. That's a huge pick.
Well, now it's going to be Kuki going down. Zupa manages to cut through. A lot of shielding available for Seoul, but apparently not quite enough. Fleta does get some value for that self-destruct, but Logix gets to play here and do whatever the heck he wants. This composition on paper looks decent, but you'll notice that Florida will give ground as much as they can, and then set up to try and fight back here. And with Logix uncontested, it's actually really hard for Seoul to win this fight. Logix has more opportunity to do damage than if he was in this position on defense on Horizon Lunar Colony, for example.
What's scary here for Seoul Dynasty is you're staying on this. And you're going to use Sound Barrier, you're going to use Earth Shatter. I think they're playing around this Grav, like Grav, Coalescence, and whatnot. If you don't land the Grav, you're in trouble.
I mean, Zumpa's had very low average energy over the course of this game. He's not had many opportunities to properly charge up. It's been 15%, which is not going to be conducive to getting you a lot of damage. And Jaehong,
That was so nice. Awesome Guy with a big halt there, too.
yeah, that was right up the top. He was just pulled back out into that one. Gesture level stuff. We saw that. It was Fisher, in fact, if I'm not mistaken. On this map a while back. Logix again getting free damage done. Somebody do something about this guy. Look at how far forward he gets to play and not have a care in the world.
And Tavic will have another Riptire for the next fight. So you'll have Supercharger, Riptire, no support ultimates. You have nothing to protect you from the grab. I guess you're relying on Manatin to just eat it up. But this could get dangerous for Seoul Dynasty if this push doesn't work out.
I'm sure that they're talking about that a lot, though. They're saying they have grab, they have grab, they have grab. So try and spread out a bit. And they have done that. Manatin's playing a frontline role here. Oh, Kuki's down.
That was really nice. So they actually used a halt to get Kuki out of that doorway, and then Manatin, to make sure he didn't get back in, booped him with his D.Va mech into the tire. Really nice play.
Look at this from Logix. He's going to stay out here. He's just going to harass Kuki. There's no way that Kuki gets to rejoin the rest of his team without them coming back to save him, because Logix... Oh, yeah, he's going to hit him with a fat headshot in just a second. Okay, good play by Fleta. Doubles back. puts himself in a position to sort of chaperone Kuki through that doorway, but Logic still gets to play the off angle and not be punished for it at all.
And the Reinhardt shield already gone. There's not a lot of time here for Seoul Dynasty to make a play.
Oh, I can't believe this is happening!
No sound barrier!
They have a Graviton Surge. Thunberg can save the team, but they're at a man disadvantage. This needs to be a sick grab. Moving on to the point now. Logic's... I mean, you get it by now. He's uncontested. He's getting away with this one. Fletter's mech is now gone. Graviton Surge there. Who's caught in that one? There's actually a shield in that. Twig gets himself a huge brace of kills. It's 3 and the D-mech. It's going to be the Florida Mayhem hold on, or is it? Kuki gets 2. Zebasai and Zubin both go down to the Reinhardt. Logic's on the point that has to fight against Gambler, who just wrecks him. Now it's Manatin at 1 HP. What is going on? Soul somehow managed to break through a composition, a fight they had no business winning, and they keep themselves alive in this map.
Sound barrier connects with 3 players. It connects with Kuki, Jaehong, and obviously Gambler gets the effects himself, as that makes the difference in the end.
Oh, there it is. That's why they had business winning this one. Oh, the whole...
Did he get compacted?
Awesome guy.
What is
actually contributed to the death of both of his support players there.
This is one of the odder first 2 maps of Overwatch we've had in the league this far. Is now Seoul is switching up a lot of their comp, and now they're going to try and play Tracer with Wicked on Tracer into Brigitte. So we'll see how this goes. I kind of have an idea how it's going to go.
We are on the frontier of Overwatch. We're on the edge of the great unknown, man.
I think it's kind of cool that there's so many different comps and different mind games you can play in this stage than any other. A lot of switching needed. And it forces your shot caller to be on another level, right? Of having to be able to predict, and kind of force other teams into different comps. Yeah.
Your game plan changes as you switch comp and also as your opponents do. So you're back to our drawing board a lot of times, and it doesn't quite make the distance there. He's overextended now a little bit.
Well, you know as a team that your comp is directly going to impact what the other team decides to play. So you selecting a comp kind of opts you into the other team playing a certain comp.
Yeah, you try and be a step ahead, right? You try and force a switch to sort of suit or anticipate one.
Right, yeah, I mean, exactly. So if you're Florida, you're like, okay, what do we feel comfortable playing against here? We feel comfortable, there you go, goodbye. Nice little wave. If you're Florida, what do we feel comfortable playing against here? You have Zebasai play Ana. You don't really have I mean, you just have Transcendence as that big support. You don't have a Valkyrie or whatnot, right? But you do have, the Biotic Grenade for when Wicked comes in, tries to do damage on the point, right? You feel good about the Widow matchup. Then you don't want them to play any Tracer, so you play a Brigitte of your own. So you can kind of I don't want to say force the other team into another comp. They can play whatever they would like, but you can mold their comp into a little bit of what you want with what you play.
This is dangerous, man, for the Mayhem. Because Soul actually get an infra side after Logic's is, well, he either doesn't have one or it's expired. I think it's more the former at this stage.
This Primal's going to charge a banana boost, though.
Awesome guy can get done here. Self-destruct, yeah. Awesome guy has to drop down, realizes that wasn't his bubble. So they do need to give a lot of ground, and Manatin got to take a lot of damage. It's okay for your front line to take damage as long as your back line is actually in position to do your own damage and try and trade out. Tvix is going to get pinned up against the wall here. Oh, he really can't do much about that one. It's easy to get in those positions sometimes as Brigitte because you're trying to play aggressively, but it may have backfired on the Florida Mayhem here.
Yeah, I mean, Tvix is playing in that position alone. He has nobody around to help him. Nobody even close. Both of his tanks gone. This will be a rally that's used from Tvix. They're trying to get onto the point. Zebasai does fall. You're not going to get a use of the nano boost here. It'll be Transcendence from both teams on the point.
Logic's, I mean, despite being able to get kills through Transcendence, in theory, you just couldn't find him there. Kuki's bubble was putting in his way. Tvix low gets landed on top of now by the monkey, and Awesome Guy will get taken down. Look at the back edge there. You can see there's both snipers, of course. Zebasai counting as one. The 2 healers have been cordoned off entirely. Zubir doesn't technically have line of sight right now. He's sort of being blocked by the bubble, and Fletter has all the room he needs. Now he gets to live what Logic's got in the first part of this map. 35 seconds left. Both of these teams playing it very close, and Tvix comes out. Whip shot finds Jaehong.
Yeah, Jaehong's actually put to sleep by Zebasai, and then he gets hit with the effects of Biotic Grenade. This will be Zupe who comes onto the point using Transcendence. Able to build up another one. Seoul Dynasty going to back up. Only 22 seconds to go.
Credit to Zupe. He's actually quicker on charging trans than Jaehong has been so far in this map. And Seoul Dynasty forced away. They have one last chance to make this happen. Are Florida going to take another map away with Seoul failing to attack? Time will tell, man. 7 seconds. I'm standing up. This is about to get spicy. So we're in. That's Kuki's there with it, but also got drops in the backside. That's beautiful. Going to separate the backline. He does get a Biotic Nade as well. It's going to make him more confident coming forward. And the Primal Rage is the cherry on top. Zunba's mech is down, but Logix is missing, so Flutter wins out that all-important Widow duel to start the fight, but now he'll be forced out of position. Also, guys, probably going to latch on and not let go here. Zunba down, but he was desuited. Not a big kill, and some of the others are, with Zebasai dropping to Flutter now that Widow's getting the work done. Madsen and Kuki going head-to-head, but there's a lot of healing. Gamble doing a huge job now keeping his front line up. Logix went deep, and Wakid is so threatening for him. Flutter's getting the picks, and he's got all the room to work with.
Yeah, Madison will get back on the point, though. You're going to have a respawn advantage here for the Florida Mayhem. Wakid will use Rally. It's just Wakid and Gamble are on the point as Zunba goes over to Tracer here towards the end. It'll be a nano boost used onto Madison, and another Transcendence here from Zupe.
Zumba's out there getting it done. Now it's just really Zunba here on the Tracer, where he was trying to get back to the point, so desperate to rejoin the fight, but it might have not been the optimal pick at all. Wakid's brought back to life, but Gambler's down. He gives up his life for that one. Vic also looks like he's in trouble. Credit to Soul. Good target focus considering the fight is sort of broken up into so many quadrants, but no, the Mayhem standing tall. Kuki drops back on the point, but he gets pulse bombed into next Tuesday. His limp body drops down, and that's another map for the Florida Mayhem.
The Mayhem find themselves up in this series 2-0 going in the half. Nobody expected this today as they are taking it to Seoul Dynasty, to Vic. A very good game. Same with Logix, the DPS duo showing up.
Okay, man, we got to eat our words, man.
Oh,
We're here from the desk now at halftime as they break down what we've seen so far. Fodder up 2-0 with the break.
Listen up, League fans, because the Shoutcasters need your help crowning the first T-Mobile Overwatch League MVP. Let your voice be heard. Cast your vote now on Twitter with hashtag OWLMVP and your player's battle tag.
The Florida Mayhem are looking to pull off the upset after getting the full hold on Blizzard World. And then we go to Hanamura, where it will be 2-0 at the half. I tell you, the Florida Mayhem channeling their inner Shanghai Dragons Day today.
I think that's more Soul that's doing that, actually.
Oh, potentially either one. Or maybe just the energy. You know,
The way it
Just
just
the
works,
energy.
mate.
the dragon energy
Oh,
that's in the arena
Yeah,
today.
I think Dragon's Day is contagious, and it's affected both of these teams.
Let's just say it like this. Today's a day. That's
is,
that one.
yeah.
So now let's go into the highlights here for Blizzard World and Hanamura. Lots to digest, lots to talk about.
There is, yeah. Particularly, you know, we were questioning, you know, where is Sire player in the intro? You know, in
Yeah.
my opinion, you know, we both thought that it was going to be leading to more tank-based compositions from Florida Mayhem, but
were
they just
wrong.
ran. Yeah, we were wrong. Standard compositions coming out from Florida, what they usually like to run, Logic's back on the Tracer and the Widowmaker as opposed to flexing onto the Zarya, and it paid off for them, really. Josh, you're grimacing.
Did
You're
it, or did
grimacing.
Soul just throw the game? Why are you running a Tracer into a Brigitte on offense? Why are you running a Pharah in the first place for both of these teams on Blizzard World when that's never been meta?
Yeah.
You can dive it at the end of the day, and that's what Tvik did when he was on the offense. Eventually, when Genshi, they took it. Here, Wakid plays Tracer into the Florida Mayhem repeatedly when he's getting man-marked by Logics and getting shut down by Tvik. They can't set up a dive because Fleder's on the Pharah, and then Wakid only switches in the final moments. Jaehong's already been dived too many times. I mean, it's a tragedy at the moment watching Seoul Dynasty.
Hey, are you
They
okay?
no, I'm very bothered.
Are you okay?
Because I'm not even a fan of the Seoul Dynasty, honestly. Like, I respect them as players. I know that they have this fantastic legacy. I wouldn't call myself a fan, but I am a fan of good Overwatch. And Seoul Dynasty have thrown it down the toilet today.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I agree.
Spicy.
I mean, I was going to go off on them, but I feel like you've done my job for me there, pal. I'm not going to lie. You went on
I didn't know we had an Angry
marathon with that.
Sideshow. I thought Angry
Goodness
Brent
me.
was the only thing we could allow here.
That is ridiculous. Are you okay?
No, because I'm going to see the Seoul Dynasty fall out of playoffs if they carry on like this. And honestly, they wouldn't deserve the playoff spot. If you're performing like this, you're losing to the Florida Mayhem, who, yes, have had some good moments here, but it's not been that the Florida have had some insane clutch defenses or something. It's been that the Seoul Dynasty have failed both of their offensive pushes on these maps. This is a concerning trend for them and something they need to turn around.
I completely agree with you. And I feel like as well, I don't know. We pick up this team on a regular basis, and we say that these guys are veteran players, and they've got the potential there to be getting these wins.
They are, yeah.
Where is it? You know, where are we seeing it today?
Even Fletter on the Pharah when he was playing it didn't look like he was hitting all of those shots, you know, still getting out quite a bit of damage, but not on that kind of carry role. We know this guy's potential. We've seen it, kind of glimmers, hints of it before, seen it on past teams. It's not coming together. The pieces are not clicking. For Seoul, it kind of looks like they know a composition can work. For example, when they're running that triple tank, triple support kind of GOAT composition, they run in, but they are not playing the cover properly. They're not focusing down targets correctly. They're spreading the damage across
That's
everyone.
the biggest one to me, is the
going on?
target management is completely off. I can't understand
You'll
how
have
you
like
can
3
mess
people
up.
weak, and then
I don't understand how you can mess up that composition, because it's very simple. You death ball in, you move as an entire unit of players, and you just focus down one individual target,
Delete,
one after
delete,
the other.
delete,
Delete. And they're just all over the place. You know, they're just like jam that's been spread too thin, like on a piece of toast. It's unbelievable. I cannot believe what I'm witnessing when I'm watching this game. He's contained. Mate, what? Your anger has infected me now. It's unbelievable. He's gone off on this tangent.
Grrr. I don't know. I'm trying to join in on the anger. I'm a pretty happy guy. So.
Having said that, there was a hilarious play that Bren spotted earlier on.
It kind of encapsulates the
entire
entirety
thing.
of this matchup
The
so
entire
far.
thing.
Bren or Sideshow, whoever it is, the floor is
Run us through it, Bren.
Yeah, this was ridiculous. This was Kuki getting the Earth Shatter behind them. And this is it. Like, this is the setup right now. All you got to do is keep Kuki away. So they end up, they boop him away a little bit with a concussion mic, but he gets pulled back with the halt. And he gets the double kill to the supports. And it's tragic. I witnessed this and I was like, they had the win. The overtime push was there. If they had just let the concussion mic do its work, you know, send him flying. To be fair, it's a split moment reaction. You know, he uses the halt, he pulls it back.
It's just comedy. It's
It is comedy. And it's just like, they just summarizes the game so well.
But when we came in here, we said that Florida Mayhem, they would be looking at Hanamura to be able to take it. They have been decent on that map. Their defense, again, was pretty good today. It wasn't anything amazing. It's not that they've particularly clutched the game or anything. Seoul had their failings, but they've been solid, the Florida Mayhem. Now they're in a great position to deliver an upset against a team much higher in the standings than them. They actually look fairly good here. If they can carry this momentum forwards, Florida Mayhem, you know, they don't look like the absolute lowest team in the league, which a couple of teams were thinking that Florida were perhaps worse than Shanghai right now. It doesn't really look like it at the moment. They have they have bits and bobs that are working well for them.
Yeah, very fair. And you know, also they're they're sending us some different looks.
Yeah.
I think is another thing. And I know you wanted to break this down because Tvik did something that I don't think a lot of us expected going into the second point on Hanamura.
No, I saw this. I've got a little clip that I can show us, and I like this because it's something that, and I can explain why I like this. It's a very nice sort of switch. It's actually Tvik on the Doomfist. It's interesting because Doomfist is a hero. He's got this one-shot capabilities, but it's hard to make him work in the current meta because, you know, maps don't really suit it too well. But the idea behind this composition right now for Florida Mayhem in general is they're going to be using Logics as well to try and hit headshots and get the one-shot potential there, get these kills going, but also Tvik on the Doomfist with his Rocket Punch. The Rocket Punch using, if you slam somebody into the wall, a 200 HP target, they are going to be instantly killed. And this is what Tvik is going for here. He's going to be trying to work his way up, and this is something that a lot of teams have trouble breaking into this sort of defense. I know I certainly do in my ranked games. It feels like you repeatedly throw bodies at it until it works. But this is something that you can do. It's a niche little pick. You can switch to Doomfist. And this little corridor, I'm going to play it out now. You'll see exactly what I mean. There's a small little enclave where essentially the supports sit down there and they camp in the back lines. And as Doomfist, you can just go straight down out with the Rocket Punch and you can collect easy kills onto the back lines. So this is a really cool strategy that Tvik's just pulled out, this niche pick. And again, this is Soul just not really being prepared and not reading it. Now, they should know he's running a Doomfist, so that the positioning should have been matching that as a result of it. They weren't at the time, but it's just cool because, you know, they bring it out, and it's a nice little strategy. You can see what I mean. Yeah. Normally, teams use this one-shot strategy that I like to call it with a Hanzo and a Widowmaker. Yeah. You get the double sniper threats to try and get a headshot on the Hanzo or a headshot as a Widowmaker, and that's how you win the fight. Same theory applies here with the Doomfist composition. That's why it's so nice. You just don't really see it that often.
Nice to see something different from the Florida Mayhem. And, you know, the good news is, I mean, for you two right now, I'm going to have to get you guys some Sour Patch Kids, you know, tone you down. Maybe get some candy in you so that you can make you happy. I don't know. But the good news is we have some more Overwatch coming up in just a little bit. The question on everyone's mind, can the Seoul Dynasty make that reverse sweep happen? Or will the Florida Mayhem get their first win of Stage 4? Find out after this.
If you're in the Los Angeles area, come experience Overwatch League live at Blizzard Arena. For tickets, check out Access.com.
Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Seoul Dynasty versus Florida Mayhem.
Yeah.
And the Mayhem went into halftime 2-0 up. And it was a series of unexpected events, I think, that we actually saw. And we're not so
It's
much
been a crazy game.
Right, we're not so much shocked that, the Mayhem sort of winning these matches. It's just the manner in which they're being won, or in some cases lost by Seoul, was so curious to us. Well, we'll get back to that one, but before we get there, I want to talk about something that's coming up in late August. You might be starting to see a little bit about it now on social media. It's our All-Star Game. It's going to be epic. Now, we need you guys to help us pick our squads from the Atlantic and Pacific divisions, and the All-Star voting powered by Intel is now live, starting today. So, the website is blizz.ly/Intel All-Star Games. Right there, you can see it on the screen. Head over there, cast your vote, create your fantasy team, the team that you want to see. I put mine up on Twitter today.
I put mine up there.
There were disagreements, there was agreements, It's kind of fun. It's a bit different to a World Cup in that we can sort of take these players in the Overwatch League that we've never seen play before. On the same thing.
I mean,
I had Neptuno with a full Korean roster apart from that one.
I pretty much did as well.
Which is kind of fun. So get in there, put your vote forward, because it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun when we get there in late August.
You're going to see some cool combinations of players, potentially if they make it. But yeah, you imagine they do. Like, I had a Carpe and Prophet, like as an DPS combo. Like, that would be kind of nuts.
You can vote until the end of stage 4. Yeah. So June the 17th is the closing date for voting. So, watch these teams, get a feel for it, think about who you want to see, maybe create these crazy combinations of tanks and DPSs that you wouldn't otherwise see. That's kind of the point. It's going to be a lot of fun. So do get in there and get voting. blizz.ly/Intel All-Star Game.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a fun weekend. It's going to be a really good event. I'm excited to see who gets voted in. I know by the fans, and then obviously, we have a say in terms of selections. But going back to this match, that graphic is correct. That is the Mayhem up 2-0 here against Seoul Dynasty. The Mayhem have done it with their strong defense, Mitch. I know their defense was great on Blizzard World. It was very good on point A and B. I mean, outside of the halt onto Kuki to let him finish off those players. If that doesn't happen, that game ends on point A.
I mean, I've got to say, we saw, in my opinion, Zupe really thrived in that final fight. We saw a lot of very quick transcendence gain from him. He was faster overall than Jaehong's transcendence generation, which is rare, by the way, because Jaehong is up there in how quickly he can farm that ability, which is very important for Zenyatta players, especially, for very long fights. I was impressed by Zupe. It's not something I often get to talk about, so
no, it's nice to see him play well. We've talked a lot about how Zupe has not been the best. The Mayhem Sports have not been the best. They're playing quite good this game. They come out, so it looks like they've done a little bit of their homework here for Seoul Dynasty. They know they're going to play Pharah Widow. You come out with a Widow and a Tracer of your own. So Logic should be able to put a lot of pressure here on a Flood & Co.
Now, Tvik just realized there that Wakid sort of used his concussive blast, so he would expect Wakid to know that he's there, right? And then he's trying to play around the fact there's a Widowmaker in the game. Jaehong gets burst down, though, immediately. Great little dive into the backline of the Seoul Dynasty, and Gambler, when you see a Mercy at 40 health and Logix is reloading, it's almost inevitable by that point. Kuki discorded, doesn't even get away from Logix. Now we're starting to see him fire up.
And right there, when Zunba goes to peel for Jaehong, as soon as he dies, he goes back and tries to knock Awesome Guy out of the way, and just leaves Logix there to just mow down Gambler. Gambler has no chance.
I feel like he's done too much at once, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, that may be the case. Wakid goes to Brigitte, so this is a good switch. The issue is, this point, you can just stall it for so long. Giving up first percentage to Florida is huge. I mean, they're going to get 30% before you even have a touch here. For Seoul Dynasty, you may not even get that. It's going to be a Pulse Bomb that goes in. Oh, that's 2 big deaths. You can't have the Mercy in the Winston go down.
Right, and 2 heroes there you just saw offloading a lot of burst damage. That's actually how you see these fights that could otherwise be staggered out for a long time. One, you get these heroes that have that sort of instant speed removal, we'll call it, whereas Fleta gets a headshot, there's burst damage there, Jaehong unleashes a salvo, orbs of destruction. Otherwise, if you're sort of just getting 1 kill at a time and teams are able to sort of, regroup and sort of come back into the fight, these can get out of hand, which is why it can be scary if you give Florida as Seoul the first fight win. If you can't take it back quickly, it could be 99-0.
I tell you what, I think that fight may end up, we'll see how it happens, but that could lose this point for Florida. You need to, if you get the point, you need to get higher than 47%. We see teams get to 90-80% there on that first fight.
Losing 2 players quickly means you can't resurrect them both, and you've got to be operating at a man disadvantage for the rest of the fight. Good response there, Wakid, straight into Logix. So Logix probably switches here, probably realizes that this is maybe not working out well. The problem is that Tfik's playing Widow.
Yeah.
So, normally it would be Tvik on a Brigitte and then Logix on the Widow. That's not the case here, as you can see.
Now, I was going to say, he could play Brigitte.
Is this?
You
have
could.
we seen this from Logix before?
No, I was gonna say it would be ideal, but you could actually play even like McCree against this comp.
It's more burst damage and instant
Yeah.
removal. You know, I use
I
slang terms there.
I mean, usually don't like love McCree in some of these comps, and McCree and Solver.
Getting dive just got just lays the hammer down. Vic there. The second pick was almost a little bit cocky, which is uncharacteristic for Fletter. He's usually quite a conservative Widowmaker player, but he knows he had to secure that kill and get it done quickly. Now, he has free reign, essentially, and Soul have control of the point. Florida trying to make some inroads here. They have no support ultimates remaining. Oh, Wiki didn't see that one coming in from top. Good response there. Logix getting the stun on the enemy Brigitte just to make sure that Logix would be susceptible. And yet, or Wiki, should I say, would be susceptible, and yet, Florida don't have the numbers here to take this one back. And Fletter will end the fight.
Yeah, and Zebo ends up pocketing Zupe through a lot of that. So you're really relying on Logix to heal the rest of the team playing Brigitte, and that's not enough heals to get it done. Awesome guy gets dinged with a headshot as he comes out of the spawn. There'll be an infosight here for Tvik. They'll have
like you're right,
information. They gotta touch the point.
Yeah, you're saying that last fight, losing that fight so early for Florida may have just lost in the round. And it could well be the case here. Soul are in the driver's seat, and Manhattan doesn't even have gear sticks to hold on to now. His mech is removed, and Fletter is uncontested. You can see that Tvik is trying to peek around the middle pillar, but Fletter comes in from above. A little bit of flair and style from the man. We've seen it before. We still like to see it now. Zulper has to commit to the point where the transcendent, and Zulper is a jovial wave goes past, and yes, he will be quickly dispatched, and that will be the rest.
Nothing Zubek could do there. Flies onto the point using his own transcendence. He's the only one there. But like I mentioned, I mean, you lose that one fight. If you win that one fight, if you're Florida, you get up to 98%. You give your, it's really like a 2-fight point. That one, once a team gets control. That is one that easily could have went in favor of Florida. They're not able to hold on to it. This next point could be very interesting. We'll see what Soul decides to run. This is one where you could very well see Zunba play Zarya. See Manhattan playing Zarya. I wonder if they stay on Doomfist here. As, we saw Tvik playing Doomfist the last time. Wonder if Logix plays the hero.
And there was all a possibility that Florida would have a chance to roll into this particular map. It is random the way that they come up. But obviously, playing on this particular map, University is going to allow you to play the more tank-heavy composition. Reinhardt for Awesome Guy and Kuki.
You were a Contender Season 1. We used to see a ton of Doomfist on this point. Doomfist, Ryan, sorry.
I just didn't listen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't listen to Golden Boy. Fair. But, no, you saw a ton of Doomfist on this point. Florida comes out with Doomfist, they'll go back to the spawn very quickly. That'll be Wiki to come.
AFK. He knew he was pretty much gone there. Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's Fletter now picks in towards the McCree. Now, if Florida maintain this sort of same composition, Fletter gets to have another round where he's uncontestedly and just sort of is not bothered. He gets to plank, he gets to do all the fun stuff.
I would question Tvik on the Widow here. It's like, this isn't really a great Widow point. Obviously, you want to go after Wiki. That's going to be Logix just flying in and getting taken out. Manhattan doesn't have a chance to live. Maybe you could have played McCree here. You could have even played like 76 if you wanted for just consistent shield pressure and some damage up in the sky. Because right now, if Wiki just stays on the ground behind the shields, you're not going to really get a lot of damage down onto him.
I feel awfully cramped as a Widowmaker on this map a lot of the time, especially when Soul can deny so much space just on virtue of having a Reinhardt. Logix there, that was picked around the shield. Logix, that's a small error perhaps for him mechanically, just letting himself get picked there.
They used to do that to Florida when they play these two DPS players as well. It's like, we saw Tvik play the Doomfist the last time with Logix on Widow. Now we see the reverse when just kind of not really sure why. They'll have Zepozai try and speed boost him in here, maybe get a use of this Coalescence.
Okay, Logix, Kuki and Logix, that's an interaction we actually haven't seen much at all. The two of them charging into each other. This time it's a mutual knockdown, but Wakid is there. And Nefaro will deliver damage in spades. Mayhem a knockdown again, and this is starting to get rather troubling. In all fairness, though, Soul did use 4 ultimates in that fight.
Yeah, but in the next fight, pretty much comes all down to this next one. Kuki will have a shatter. He's hiding behind enemy lines here.
Awesome guy, check your corner. Okay, he's not going to do it.
Oh, they have the walls there, so they do have infosight. They're going to be able to know exactly where Kuki is.
That is a risk, right? You're playing into a Widow comp. Yeah. Tvik hasn't done a ton of Widow this round, but that infosight actually kept them in this game.
To be honest, it probably doesn't even cross Kuki's mind, because how often do you play against a Widow on this point?
Well, I mean, and, if you're having less of an impact, which I think it's actually been okay over this map in general, but this round's been quiet for him, so it's less of an impact for Widow. It's not at the forefront of your mind, and it's such a, that's like the minutia, you know, of these hero interactions, but it completely jubates.
So now Manitin doing his hiding intent. Oh, we have a Space Jam coming on the board, so that'll be the grab that connects with a lot of players.
Come on, it's Slam, boys, let's do it! Drops in, doesn't actually get any kills with that, gets pinned out of it by Kuki. Unfortunately, it's more just the theatrical side of it.
I love how we hyped that up, then everybody on his team got a kill. He just came slamming down, got pinned up against the wall.
Oh, I feel bad. I hope for more. I mean, Florida still cleaned up. It was a bit
won the fight.
They, I mean, to be fair, they win that fight with get most of the kills without the Meteor Strike actually being used. So that technically, Matt, they only had to use one ult to win that fight. I digress. Here's a big Earth Shatter. No, he does actually manage to get past Kuki's shield. Kuki, though, jockey's back a little bit, and Zumba's down. He went very, very deep there. Kuki, shield is now back up, and the Earth Shatter, not something that Florida could really capitalize on.
No, they get them to burn the Resurrection, but now you're going to see the Valkyrie used here from Seoul Dynasty as they want to push on in. A nice charge there from Kuki.
Flatter with a big double Deadeye there. Awesome guy, knocked into the wall. He was probably already dead to rights as it was, but that pick on Zebasai is so important. He had sound barrier. That's how Florida could have prolonged the fight and actually put themselves in a winning position, and now they're staggered. It's the last remnants of the Floridians here on the point trying to stay in it, and it's not looking good.
Oh, it's going to be a grab that comes down from Zunba. That's going to be Rocket Barrage from Wakid. There's nothing you can do about that. This will be Seoul Dynasty taking their second point in the map in this series.
And if you're a Seoul Dynasty fan or player, this is bare minimum stuff.
Yeah.
They were already looking down the barrel of an early exit from the series at 3-0 for Florida, and they bring it back, and convincingly so. Must have been quite the pep talk at half-time. The map 4 is just around the corner. Florida look to close up the series. Seoul look to take it to map 5. We'll see how it all falls out in the wash after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone.
First, they're sour. Then they're sweet.
Oh, thanks, guys.
New Sour Patch Kids Fire and Freeze. Sour, sweet, gone.
Welcome back, Blizzard Arena. This is Zoe, and I know a lot of people watching this game might have been wondering why we haven't seen one of the star players from the Florida Mayhem squad playing today. Of course, I'm talking about Saya Player. I went to talk to their coach, Ryder, at halftime, and he told me the reason for that are two things. One of them being that he actually is suffering from a mild shoulder injury, which made it hard for him to comfortably play on stage. And the second one is that looking at their overall game plan, they really felt like they need someone who's more flexible and more adaptable as a player for their actual strategy against the Seoul Dynasty. And they really felt like Saya Player is a little bit too specific and too specialized. But if his shoulder wouldn't have been hurting, they would have fielded him today, definitely on some of the maps. So they had to make that swap and that decision to not field him today. However, it's working out pretty well for them. 2-1, the current star. Do you guys think the Mayhem is going to take this one tonight? All right, well, I guess we're going to find out. Map number 4 coming up.
I know what it is. Saya Player's out there trying to be Swallow Player. He's getting the military presses and, you know, rotator cuffs and stuff. You got to have good form, fam, all right? For one, we can hang out, we can do some good, I'll fill you in. But they seem to be doing okay without him, all things considered. It was an interesting little tidbit of information there, talking about like his flexibility as a player. I feel like
it's like we didn't need him.
Point him at the enemy team and let him go. Just he's like a wind-up toy.
I like the Ryder was like, yeah, we like you know, the versatility of this lineup. But we would have played him.
Look, it is true. It is true, though. They are flexible. We saw that even Logic's playing Brigitte in that previous map. So right now in Overwatch, you need to be able to switch not between maps. So you don't solve team comp problems with substitutions. You solve them with flexible players already in the lobby and being able to switch it. And maybe this is just conjecture, but maybe that is what they're getting at.
It's been like an evolving meta, obviously, throughout Overwatch League. But I think this stage the most. You need to have versatile players in every position. Main tank, off tank, support, DPS. Like, for a while we were just talking about flexibility in terms of DPS, right? You can't really be a hit scan specialist or a projectile specialist or a Widowmaker specialist. You need to be able to play so many different things. Now you see it with the supports, right? You have to be able to play, you know, your main supports. You have to be able to play Mercy. We see some Moira, you know, a little bit of Lucio, Brigitte sometimes from like a support. Even your off tank has to have a Brigitte play, right? You know,
some teams is their DPS players, some teams is their off tank, sometimes it's their support. Sometimes all three of those roles, members from those roles have to play
it in the series, right? And you don't want to keep swapping players in and out, in and out. You can't build teamwork that way.
I love this, though. I love this right now, man, that we're seeing these switches. Maybe it doesn't stay forever, but, you know, I'm enjoying it. Let's talk about Seoul's defensive setup here. Probably nothing too out of the ordinary, I feel.
Nope. I mean, this is what they've gone with on defense in a lot of these maps. Blizzard World, Hanamura, they've gone with this defense.
This is kind of a forward setup, though. Normally we see teams in that on the left or in the middle of screen there at the top, just under the score bar, but they're actually playing on this side. I guess they catch the Pharah, right?
You don't want to give the Pharah space to get over the roofs, and you know, then it can cause problems for Pharah.
Because if you play on the far end, right at the top of the screen there, the Pharah can sort of sneak up and break line of sight and throw rockets in for free. So I like that adaptation.
They have to back up, though, because Kuki almost gets hit with a concussion blast off the side and gets knocked to the ground. So that scares Seoul Dynasty a little bit. Now they have to back up. Now we'll see Tvik with some space, see if he can make some plays on the flank.
Fletter has to be aware that sort of Tvik wants to come over that right-hand side from Logic's perspective now. And you can see Tvik's being careful. He knows he's going up against Fletter.
You see the time for Soldier 76 play for Florida. Well above the league average there.
I love that. There are some teams that have like these certain picks that are like way more than others, like Houston and Roadhog, for example. 76, though, is such a... It feels generic sometimes, like in some of these matchups, man. It's like Shields kind of wreck him. I like this Tvik, though. Look at him. He's gotten in the backside.
I mean, 76 is never really like bad in a comp, but it's never really like strong, right? It's just a character you throw in there who can do a little bit of everything. It's right now, the Mayhem getting a lot of things to go their way. Wiki, though, comes back into the fight. He's able to grab 2. This is going to be a transcendence from Zupe. They feel like they can win this.
Yeah, I like this. This is working out really well. They dealt with Fletter again. Logix takes him down. Tvik got so much early damage in that fight, Matt, that Seoul were immediately on the back foot and had to retreat inside the houses. Then they attempt to try and bubble up in there with Kuki on the Winston from all impressions, and they just kind of got pounded.
I tell you what, I think this may be Zupe's best game that we've seen from him in the Overwatch League.
The whole Overwatch League, you think?
Yeah.
Tell us why.
He has not been good. He has not been good so far in the Overwatch League. You're seeing today, though, he's hitting a lot of these shots. I know 4 limbs, 2 final blows, able to put down a lot of hero damage there early. Good healing numbers, gets an early Transcendence. It helps him take that first fight.
I remember his beautiful 3K on Numbani in stage 1, which is a good moment, but that map overall was a rough one for him. And like, I've sat in scrims with the Mayhem, right? And I know, I've heard a little bit about how they sort of worked through some of their issues. And Zumba didn't want to be that aggressive Jodark style player. He wanted to be sort of passive, conservative with his angles and not peek out wide. So he was getting pressured out fairly easily at the start of the Overwatch League in terms of the aggressive Zen play. And well, I won't hold that against him. You cannot do a thing about that.
Which is hard to play that way now because Zens are expected to do so much in the Overwatch.
Well, that's it. That's the Jodark syndrome, right? We're talking about that. Like, a lot of Zen players want to be set up for that kind of success, and it's hard to do that. You need to change the whole way your team works. That's ambitious from Tvik. Long-range barrage means that there's a lot of time for your opponent to respond and damage you, and Wiki just comes in on his high horse.
Jaehyun uses Transcendence here towards the end. Probably didn't need to use that. It's Florida was backing all the way up. You're going to see Kuki use Primal Rage, so a lot of extra ultimates invested there for Seoul Dynasty.
We saw this as well. I think it was the start of the week. We had that Seoul game. We saw a lot of Transcendences from Jaehyun that at least to outside onlookers didn't make a huge amount of sense in terms of how they were being used or the context of them. And it's very possible, by the way, that there is a very good reason for that, and we aren't aware of that. But we have to question it regardless. Big hit on Jaehyun there. Logic's feet barely touches the ground, and then he just dumps Jaehyun.
But look at this. I mean, they get the first 2 picks, both supports. Now it's going to be Logix who grabs 3. Now you don't even have to use your own Transcendence. I mean, you can't because now Zube does. But you may not even have to use it either after he gets rezzed.
Matt, you're like the cold, hard slice of logic we all need sometimes, Zumba getting desuited there. Oh, Logix, yes, give it to me. Jaehyun down for the 2nd time. It's a tough game to be a Zenyatta in general, but Logix is kicking off. 6 final blows for him.
Logix spoke to Carpe after the match last night. He's like, what do you have to do? Carpe was like, just click heads, bro.
Just click heads. Well, I think for a lot of those Widowmaker players, once you're in the zone, I think it does boil down to that a lot of the time, being instinctive. We saw Carpe with some of those huge comeback team players, but we know Logix to be a beast on this Widow, and you know what? Like, we have to eat our words. We said, we're Sire player at the start of this match. You've got to admit, we knew Logix was an excellent Widowmaker player. We didn't know he'd make this much of a difference, though, would be this good.
And it'll be Transcendence here from Zube, trying to get Awesome Guy in a position where he can make a play, but I mean, we weren't asking for Saya player because, we thought the other DPS couldn't get the job done. It's because he's been so good on the hero, and the hero's so important right now.
When you think about it, like, it's their best chance of success, that's the go. Zuma did a really good job right there of knocking Awesome Guy down a peg to the lower level. Potentially keeps not only Fleta alive, but allows her to secure a kill on Awesome Guy, who's caught on the low ground and subject to the entirety of Seoul's scrutiny. Zuba's been great with that, by the way. His reactive boots, we saw that earlier in the week. I called him out on Oasis City Center for doing the same thing against the Dragons. Just not fearless down.
And I'm not sure why Awesome Guy got so aggressive there. Maybe he thought he was going to be able to do enough damage and then get the health pack and stay alive and get a Primal Rage.
He was, in fact, not awesome, and he didn't like that.
If you name yourself Awesome Guy, you set yourself up for things like that.
Logic's going to sit in the back. He does know that there's a rally being used on a high ground, and Seoul, for the most part, are able to benefit from it without being sort of bothered. Kuki doesn't drop in there unless he has Primal Rage, and I feel like Florida knew that as soon as they see him so deep. And still, Kuki gets a lot of value for that. So he finds Awesome Guy and Fleta amidst the roiling mass of bodies and people trying to vie for contention. Managed to get the pick on Zebasai as well. Who was in Valkyrie, by the way?
And now, if you are the Florida Mayhem, you need to figure out a way to get one of these support ults out in this next fight. I mean,
what do you have to fall?
Okay, so Logix will use Doomfist here, so they really feel like they can make an impact with Doomfist in this series.
I'm never going to complain about this, but
no, I love seeing Doomfist.
How easy is it for Logix to access the backline now with like this stack set up on the high ground?
I think you're just going to have to rely on Manatin and Awesome Guy to go after Fleta as you see some damage go down onto Wiki. This will be a Transcendence. But look, you can't really get aggressive off of this. Where are you going to go?
Well, he's looking for Fleta right now, but Zupair already fell. I want to go back and look at that play, or at least talk about it briefly, because Logix actually kind of got misered out of a kill on Wiki. He hit him at such an angle that Wiki kind of slid across the wall and didn't get knocked into it for that extra damage. He still would have died despite that Transcendence being in play, which, by the way, was forced out. So Florida do force us.
Well, they get both support ults out. Now, Zebo's going to have a big advantage in terms of building up towards Valkyrie, so that's exactly what you wanted. You're going to have Rally plus Valkyrie here. For the Florida Mayhem, it's still a decent amount of time on the clock. 1 minute and 10 seconds. It's good enough for pretty much 2 fights. Still have some time.
Fleta sitting back. Yeah, like you said, that rally is sort of close. But Vic has to be playing with his team to get that, so he'll probably have to drop down to get full effectiveness out of it. Fleta close to the infra side, which is great against Doomfist because he wants to try and use that element of surprise. He still gets the decent, so that works out anyway. Logic is finally down now. You can hear that rally being popped by Tvik. But Florida Mayhem and taking so much damage, and it's a mid-fight rally, which is not always the play. You don't always get max value out of it. Zebaside down to Wakid. Apparently it's clobbering time. And Fleta now waiting for that little peek of Zebaside from Zupe. And Soul sort of hold up really quite well in that fight. They don't sort of force too many ults of their own to have a rally coming back up. Transcendence. Florida could be in trouble.
Yeah, you'll have Valkyrie and Transcendence here for the Mayhem. You're also going to have the Meteor Strike. How do you deal with Fleta, though? You have not been able to since Logic switched off of Widowmaker. So this will be a rally from Wakid. Everybody gets armored up for Soul.
All right, it is time to go. Very important fight here, but a lot of armor on Wakid, for example. You can see that. Awesome Guy's going to kind of struggle actually being allowed to do what he wants to. He'll be knocked around quite a bit. Zumba can boof him. He can get shield bash there. Tvik looks like he kind of missed the distance on his particular shield bash. Logix probably goes for a bit of a meteor strike as this fight breaks down into little pockets eventually, but he's getting healing right now, so he's not complaining. Zupe is 30 seconds ahead of Jaehong on average for Transcendences in this map as well. He's been doing a lot more healing than Jaehong in general, and now it's time to bring it down. Oh, and Zumba actually, I think he was trying to get resuited there. He couldn't. Jaehong, no response. Again, finds Logix. He was the one that picked off the Doomfist in that last fight as well. Clearly a priority for Jaehong, especially given how much threat he would suffer. So Bouncing drops in.
Yeah, rally from both sides as well. The payload still really has not moved at all. As Tvik trying to come around the corner. Lands a shield bash. We'll see if there'll be another Primal Rage here from Awesome Guy. Another self-destruct from Manitin. This one connects with Jaehong, though. Zupe with yet another Transcendence here towards the end, Mitch.
A beautiful play. Zupe combined lovely with Awesome Guy to get that pick off on Wakid. And this is like sandpaper meets the grindstone, Matt. Both of these two teams are very durable and a lot of health. It's a long fight, but Florida prevail in the end. Logix gets a quick DC on Zumba. That burst damage is not something to sniff at or sneer at if you're going up against such a tanky composition. Manitin will block the doorway and Florida get the map done. You've got to be happy about that, given the circumstances they had to face trying to break in.
Yeah, he boops Wakid back there. So Wakid trying to move forward. Playing Brigitte, not able to get on a contest. So Florida, you know, make that nice play, accomplishing the map as see Zebaside doing a nice job of charging his Valkyrie, 1 minute and 41 seconds compared to Gamblers, 1 minute and 56. But Zupe, you know, 1 minute and 18 on his Transcendence. Jaehong, 1 minute and 42. So you see, this is like a really good series for the Florida supports.
Yeah. And these two teams are very close. They've done about the same amount of damage. They're 500 damage apart, which is like a Winston, if you want to look at it that way. Zupe is doing vastly more healing than Jaehong for about the same amount of damage. Your boy's he's getting about town. He's out there giving them orbs. And it's been very important overall for the Florida Mayhem to sort of stick in this one, especially with that extra tank. They've got a lot of healing available, and they really seem quite comfortable playing this, you know, more static, this tanky style of Overwatch.
Jaehong doesn't have the luxury of throwing one of his Harmony Orbs on either of his tanks. Kuki and Zunba combined for 9 deaths there. Manitin and Awesome Guy combined for 3. Manitin not dying at all. Deaths. So I know those two players, their large HP pools, able to stay alive for so long. That tells you where maybe some of that extra support ult charge time comes.
It's all up for grabs here now in map number 4, and Florida Mayhem go on defense, which has been their better half. They've looked very good on defense, and Soul will need to find a way to try and break them apart quickly. And I dare say, Fleta wants to try and flank around the side. Also, the Hanzo getting into the back door is very important. Soul were able to Soul and many teams actually over the last few weeks have been able to deconstruct, specifically Shanghai on this map, by getting a Hanzo behind the defensive team on the arch, getting it into that sort of Orisa barrier, one-hitting tanks. So keep an eye on Wakid here. I really feel like he's a linchpin if we see him out here on this Hanzo. Fleta will be important, but Wakid's the one with that extra mobility to get himself out of trouble if he does sort of flank deeply.
Yeah, it looked like Gambler played far there at the beginning, trying to land a concussion shot up top, trying to knock some players down. And maybe catch them before they can get to the underpass. Goes back over to Mercy, but Wakid plays a very good Hanzo. We saw when it was Junkertown, he played a ton of Hanzo.
That's good. See, Wakid tries to melee the concussive mine underneath the trap just before it blows up and he gets hit. Now, he doesn't manage to do that.
I usually just stand there and wait to die.
Yeah, you kind of know it's over. And I don't think it made a difference there, but a little bit of techers for you. Oh, okay. Tvik there, just lingering a little bit too long in that small room in the bubble, allowing Wakid to maybe be a little bit more aggressive, knowing that it was a one-way shield. he could shoot through, couldn't be shot back. A bit more of a direct setup though. Wiki's not trying to flank so much here. You have to think as maybe he doesn't want to get caught up with a jump rat or something, but look at them, they're just going to barrel forward here and make life hell for Osengaj.
A lot of teams, when they play this setup on defense, they'll have the Mercy with the Widowmaker. This time though, Zebosai and Zupe just playing in the room together around the tanks. You give Logix no chance to survive. He gets discorded at range from Jayhong and then jumped on by Kuki right away. Can't get away. You don't give Logix really an opportunity to make an impact there on Widowmaker with the way you're set up.
Sol opt to go for, you know, no smoke and mirrors, no skullduggery. Not trying to be sneaky about it. In fact, they're about as subtle as a sledgehammer and about as effective at breaking shields with this Hanzo front center. He has that dagger on strike. Yeah, Trogdor to Burninator to make his appearance. Not necessarily Graviton, there's no Graviton here to sort of combo with that. Wakita probably, we've discussed this before, Matt, used that Dragon Strike to actually sort of separate Florida and kind of, I guess, restrict their movement, right? It's almost a wall that kind of kills you.
Yeah, a wall that kills you, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if any of those exist. No, it's more of a thought exercise, bear with me. He doesn't have to use it here because Florida...
you don't need it now.
I mean, they're playing aggressively on defense somewhat. Florida getting caught out. This is... You pave the way with a very solid attacking side, and then you give Sol everything. Map 5 is on the line here. Sol look like they want to take it here to control to finish things off, and Florida may just let it.
So Tvik goes off of Genji, will go Brigitte here, which is interesting. I think Genji a very good counter to what they're running. Brigitte, you know, this is usually the comp that Seoul Dynasty runs is usually what you switch to counter what Florida just opted into.
So you you're playing Brigitte against a double sniper setup that can pressure your shield from range. Won't get close enough for you to shield bash. I don't quite understand that.
I mean, Tvik looks like he was set up on the high ground, sitting in front of Logix. So maybe just like a personal shield for Logix to use up on the high ground, but he'll leave a lot of his team out to dry on the point.
Well, you don't need a PhD in r/competitive Overwatch to realize that this is going very badly for Florida Mayhem. Hardly any kills in any of these fights, and always giving up the first pick. It's composition featuring Brigitte. Tvik, we haven't really got to see Shine because all the damage sources of Seoul are going to play separately from the main tanks.
This is where we see a lot of teams. If you wanted to play, you know, a Brigitte against this comp, you probably would play like Rein Zarya, right? At least try and get some charge on the Zarya, get aggressive with the Brigitte, go right into the face of the tanks, and you know, push the snipers out of sight lines.
Infra here for Logix, and this is an opportunity. So immediately that they see that Fleta's off towards the side, and as a couple of members of Seoul were kind of split, but they just walk into a Transcendence here. So what was supposed to be, you know, them finding an early pick or sort of being opportunistic with a dive could have backfired. And yet they get Kuki. So this is a very good end result for the Florida Mayhem in that fight, man.
I mean, it's about as good as it can get, right? Now you have an advantage in terms of Transcendence. So when Key throws in his Dragon, that tells me we're going to see some changes. Kuki will play Reinhardt with Keed. You imagine probably plays Brigitte here, going up against this comp. Maybe that's what you want to run.
Like
Brigitte, yeah, because you get the Brigitte going in against the Diva and the Winston. It's a pretty good setup.
I feel like this suits Florida relatively well. I mean, they probably prefer to play into Ryan Brigitte.
Slow the game down.
With one of their, yeah, exactly. And that's what Florida like to do. You need to a sort of a slowed down game pace. But Tvik's down already with a shield back. So, again, look how far forward Florida are playing. I understand they're trying to use these chokes, Matt. But it puts him at risk here. Logix, though, finds an important kill on Zumbaruptor against Desuited. He still gets the kill on Osengaj with a self-destruct, but knowing he can't remake is important. Logix has realized now that Fleta can see through those walls.
So Zebo thinking about going for the res here on Tvik. Not exactly sure. Manitin falls. Now you burn Valkyrie. You got nothing out of the Valkyrie. And you used Valkyrie when it was just Tvik and Manitin alive. At that point, just back out, get set up, use the rally, and then you would have been able to come back right here underneath the bridge, right? You wouldn't have lost that much progress.
Under the bridge, Seoul looking to take some blood. Florida Mayhem now need to group up and make use of this rally, but again, it's pretty much time to face the music. Ideally the chili peppers, you'll have good taste. All right, so we keep shield bash there. Osengaj was lucky to get out alive there. It could have been maybe a Discord orb. Jayhong might have gotten the job done. A lot of armor here for Seoul Dynasty. They're going to push forward. Tvik barely gets out from that one. Transcendence now in over the point from Jayhong just to make this a little bit safer. Tvik again goes down to a shield bash. Florida are completely scattered over the point here. Pretty much cut in half by the payload and the Seoul Dynasty. Wakita gets up and Logix takes him down. Good self-destruct to remove Jayhong here, but it might take a little bit more from Florida to stay safe. I don't think they can.
They may hold this. They're going to have a Transcendence here. An awesome guy going to use Primal Rage here, you think shortly. Oh no, he refuses to use Primal Rage here.
Fleta still gets a kill on Manitou through the Transcendence. That's so big. No D.Va your presence there is just massive, and they just weighed out the Transcendence. There wasn't enough damage left for Florida to keep them honest, and there it is. 3 minutes, 2 seconds with that 1 minute extension. High fives all around, and Soul should be happy. That's a recovery. Florida now have to attack with only 1 minute.
Yeah, an awesome guy never used that Primal Rage. I'm talking about it. I'm watching the minimap. He dives into the backline. He gets Jaehong weak. He's getting weak. He has Primal Rage. He's had it for a few seconds.
Sometimes the Hulk don't want to come out, you know?
Doesn't use it. Sorry. I mean, maybe thought he was going to get another chance.
Save
on. Maybe maybe he thinks that Seoul Dynasty is going to back out because they have them pretty weak.
Let's see how quickly he gets bursted down if he hasn't. He doesn't have a chance to respond to that.
He goes like from 180 to 0 in a second.
You can't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got stunned in there. There was. A whip shot does prevent you from taking action for a brief period of time, so that's definitely not his fault there. I think we can be sure.
Yeah, after watching it from his POV, no, there's nothing really to do there as he gets burst down. So.
Still awesome, guy. Buddy.
Still awesome.
Don't worry.
Wakid, I want to point out his stellar play. 20 final blows here, 30 limbs. A lot of kill contribution coming in from Wakid, playing a lot of different heroes.
Playing an excellent Hanzo to really open things up in the beginning, and then switching to Brigitte, able to play aggressively. Good backup from the rest of his team. Credit to Jaehong. I think he definitely stepped up a little bit more in that half. You saw his involvement in all of those kills.
The Pharah pick is risky with about a minute to go. You get picked by Fleta here at the beginning. You have to burn a res. You don't have a res till about 30 seconds left on the clock. If you don't get a lot of value out of it early, it could kind of, and then it puts you behind an ultimate economy. So see if Tvik gets a good pick here early. So Fleta playing a really interesting angle. Just lurking here, going to be on the flank.
He wants to play a surprise angle. He can obviously repel back to the rest of his team in a pinch if he needs to. But this is how you catch a Pharah, by the way. So instead of playing a sort of forward defensive position like we saw initially, you just play from a flanking spot. And Tvik doesn't know it. Logic's be the first. He just stands still. Can't do anything about it. I like that from Fleta. Quickly switching target over to the Mercy. Now, getting out of this one, he's not going to. There's a lot of risk in playing that far forward here. We have a 5v5, but guess who has defender's advantage? It's Florida.
Yeah, but now, I mean, you can't get on the cart here if you're Florida.
Small advantage.
You have to wait for everybody to get back. Fleta's going to be right on top of the archway, so it buys you some time if you are Seoul Dynasty. But let's see if Florida takes advantage of Fleta not being back. Huki's getting low.
Fleta's in position now. He just got to the top of the arch, but Logic's used that time, free as the only Widowmaker to find Kuki. Let's see what happens now as both those main tanks are brought back to life. We have an essential reset in the fight, but his Riptide might have something to say about it. Around the side, he went up on the buildings and found Zephyr's. No mercy now for the Florida Mayhem. Self-destructing over the top, and there were no resurrects here. Manitou desuited. Zuma gets a lot of value with that self-destruct, and the Mayhem had no way of really avoiding it. We're hearing a barrage there from Tvik, but Gambler just runs rings around him, and Jaehong is the one that gets the finished kill. Zulpe completely deconstructed to his separate constituents, and it will be the Seoul Dynasty to hold on, and that really sets them up, Matt, for what should be a map win and a guaranteed map 5.
We have seen some teams, though, get stopped underneath that choke. You can play pretty slow around a Junkrat and whatnot, so
I see you out there.
Not count the Florida Mayhem out.
The Kuki Monster, getting it. He's played a lot of Orisa on this particular map. It's been pretty good. It's been very solid.
It's like, it's so fascinating because it seems like they went away for Kuki for so long. And then when they had problems at Miro, it's like, oh, let's just play Jaehong. It's like, well, what about, they never really try, it never seemed like they tried to go back to Kuki until they thought that Jaehong wasn't working out.
I mean, from an outsider looking in, it doesn't make, well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think Seoul, especially as a team, and there are a lot of teams actually like that, where whose decisions we just get very little sort of insight into, and they just remain inscrutable, and they prefer not to comment publicly too much about that, which is totally up to them. Some teams are a little bit more forthcoming, and their players are more willing to be public and actually make statements on behalf of the team. Seoul have just kind of done their thing, and I can understand that some fans don't love that, but they're out here just getting the job done, Matt.
Oh,
Map 5 would be good.
Yeah, they show up. Very competitive team, very good team. They don't want to talk about it. They don't have to talk about it. So we'll see the double sniper set up again. This time Florida is going to play with a Brigitte and Tracer very up close here with the 3 supports.
So this is better for me. I like seeing Logic's on the Tracer here. Play deep, harass, those snipers. Ooh, Wakid, look at this. He's actually going to be playing a Brigitte straight out of the gates. This is like some 40 chess mind games or something, but he read Logic's like a freaking book. Love that. Love it.
The bad part about playing so close to the spawn, you can go back to the spawn and change.
And just switch really quickly. I don't know if he saw Logic's. or if anyone saw Logic's, because he switched that before they came out the gate. I mean, this is Seoul, by the way. I'm not going to make any bones about it. They are set up here to take this map away. Ostensibly, no real reason on the surface to play Brigitte straight out of the gates here, unless you maybe expect
another
Florida
fight
to do
here
this.
For Florida.
But look how far forward Seoul can push ahead of the payload.
Well, and they're going to have a rally. They're going to have some support ultimates a lot faster. Tembo has to go to Lucio to just try and get back.
See what Kuki's set up. He's actually sort of playing quite far forward. Kuki's in position there on the left-hand side. So he wants to get to the back line for free and jump out safely. So he doesn't have to use a jump to get in. Awesome guys down. Big start here. Fletter being harassed briefly, but Florida need to focus all their resources on defending the payload right now. They actually can't expend any to deal with Fletter, and that's a huge problem for them now. Being at that man disadvantage so early in the fight, Kuki's continuing to harass. He's such a pain for these guys in the back line, and he's got that primal rage. He's ready to go. I mean, ults are being used here, Matt, in this fight, but Big's down. They've lost the Brigitte. Now it's looking pretty dire for Florida.
Yeah, they had to use Transcendence in Rally just to stay in it. Awesome guy, though, does have primal range. They get a D-Mech as well. On to Manatyn, though. Seoul Dynasty still fighting in this. The payload's so close, Mitch.
This is over. This is definitely over. Logic's forced to recall or resurrect on Kuki just to keep him alive. And Kuki goes straight into the back line and deals with Zupair. That'll be enough. And the Dynasty have done the job. And they will take this one to a map 5 here. Never thought we'd be here today. The Mayhem have showed us a bit of class, a bit of pizzazz that we've been missing up until this point, but it's not enough to give them a clean series win, and they're going to have to go all the way if they want to take down the Dynasty. Map 5, ladies and gentlemen, is just around the corner. You're watching the Overwatch League.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's fastest network ever. Omened by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League. And by Intel. Intel Core i7 powers the Overwatch League.
Well, we didn't quite know what to expect going into this match. Both of these teams, the Florida Mayhem and the Seoul Dynasty, only having the one sort of win this stage between them. So 0-4 and 1-4 respectively. Now we're here at map 5. We saw a stronger Florida Mayhem, very well, very strong defensively over those first couple of maps. A team that kind of struggled when it came to control, and that is actually what our map 5 is going to be here.
It's still not a good situation for Seoul Dynasty to be in. This is a must-win match for them in terms of their overall...
All are, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of their overall playoff chances. Well, the scary thing is you can still probably make it if you lose this match, but you need to beat one of the better teams that you still have left on your schedule. You figure the Outlaws and Seoul Dynasty both had 2-0 weeks this week. They were both going to play Shanghai in Florida. So far, Houston, obviously they beat Shanghai earlier today. We saw Seoul Dynasty beat Shanghai the previous day. It's like whether this is a huge match for Seoul. They need to win here because you imagine that Houston comes in is able to take care of business here against Florida as well.
Oasis was the last time in this series we saw a control map, and interesting. I don't know. It was the interaction between the compositions I thought was fairly interesting. Fletter had some very good Widowmaker play. Wakid has just been stellar. Honestly, throughout the vast majority of this series, he's shown us a very, very good Brigitte. We've seen his Junkrat, his Hanzo has made a big impact. Bit of Farah thrown in the mix there. They kind of had it all.
Wakid had 20+ final blows on the previous map. The DPS for Florida Mayhem combined had 19. It was 36 to 19 in terms of final blows. Dynasty has never won a reverse sweep. Interesting. All right.
That's why we give Captain Planet the big bucks. That's very interesting. Mayhem once against the Fuel. See, Mayhem have actually had some decent wins against relatively high-profile teams, but it seems like an age ago now they actually managed to get them. They've been slumping a little bit since then. Well, Awesome Guy, I mean, his shield just got pounded down, and Wakid just had the firepower, but Tvik delivers back in kind. Logix was able to find Gambler here. This close-quarters fight doesn't look good for Seoul.
It's the biggest pick of them all, though, is the one on a Gambler. You don't have that res. It doesn't matter, though. Jaehyun going crazy here.
That is sick. That is so sick. Okay, he's got to give that healing, that orb of harmony over towards Kuki. Oh, this guy! Don't leave him on his own, Jaehyun! That's so rough. Jaehyun gets a kill, he gets a D-suit, and then he finds that Orisa and Zupe.
And the first kill happens on an Awesome Guy because Wakid goes down to the point with his Orisa. As Tvik and Zebosai are actually flanking through the underpass. So I know the time that Awesome Guy can't get any healing from Zebosai, and then also it doesn't have his Junkrat putting damage down on the shield is very costly there for the Mayhem.
I am very impressed with that first fight. Jaehyun, how early does he get his Transcendence? He bloody well earned it there with the amount of damage output he had in the early stages of this round. Still a quarter of his team's damage as it stands. Wakid found Tvik as well, so that's going to make life a little bit easier for Kuki if he were alive. He couldn't get his shield back up in an action. Now Awesome Guy gets to sort of muscle onto the point. Jaehyun feels safe playing these close quarters battles because he's often charging that right click, and anyone who peeks in there is probably going to get domed.
Fleta did come over to the Mayhem side of the map, tried to get aggressive on the Logix. So it was good help from Manatin to take him out, but this Riptire, just a delay.
That had some legs on it, though. It had some legs.
Both support ults here for Mayhem.
Indeed, Zupe's Transcendence, very important. I want to see what Tvik does. He's going to try and flank around. I'm unsure if he drops down to the lower level or wraps around behind Zunba. Oh, well, that's a big hit on Zunba, actually. Great way to start the fight. You don't need always a kill. Just force a tank to back up, and they get Kuki. In the absence of Zunba to protect him, Kuki's very vulnerable once his shield is pushed past. Fleta doesn't even bother about that one. Manatin, the wrecking ball for Florida. And they're on the board, but they gave a lot of percentage back to Seoul to start this one off.
Yeah, still, 71% to Seoul Dynasty. They have a Valkyrie. You figure this next fight's a bit of a wash if Tvik gets a good use of the Riptire, right? That'll kind of force you to reset. You come back, you have your own Transcendence and Valkyrie, you're in a good spot of your Soul Dynasty. So let's see if that how it plays out.
That 71%, you can actually put Jaehyun's name to a great deal of that for winning that first fight. The rest of Seoul have been a little bit quiet. 3 final blows is still the highest count on that team, but it's Jaehyun that currently holds that record, I'll say. Okay, Riptire for Tvik needs to be epic here, and he only gets Kuki and his bongo. So no slam poetry happening on the point here, but Wakid and Fleta managed to open up, very well in this fight. So Florida can't be aggressive and chase these kills. They've got to kind of wait for reinforcements. Manatin, you can see, he's not having it.
Yeah, he has to step onto the point as well. He'll use a self-destruct and then get down in the corner. A nice halt there from Kuki, trying to get it back into the line of sight of Fleta. So it'll be Zunba here who uses his self-destruct just to clear the point, but they're able to still contest.
I think Zunba was trying to body block his mini diva, managed him from getting inside that small room and subjecting him to the self-destruct, but it didn't quite work. So Florida retained control here.
So that was probably as bad as it could go for Soul. You invested a support ultimate, a self-destruct in your supercharger, you didn't get the point back, and now Tvik has another tire, and you're going to have both support ults here for the Mayhem. And Infrasight. So now that fight, because you invested into it so heavy, and it wasn't a quick one, and they came back with a real good advantage.
The fact that Tvik has another Riptide here is big. It's so big.
With Infrasight out.
Jayhong's Transcendence kind of becomes redundant in that case. Yep, he pops it straight away, sort of reactively here, but it won't save 2 people. It's Wakid and Kuki go down. Automatic resurrect, you'd have to think would be on the way here, but Gambler not in position to do that. Soul don't have the time to back off and try and go again. They do get Wakid back into the fight, but they couldn't bring Kuki. Flutter gets a shot towards Logix though, it opens up the space a little bit more. See Zuppa, he's on screen right now, sitting behind Zebasai. They're trying to keep that Zen alive. Jayhong goes deep, and Zebasai wants to punish him there with that Valkyrie. Caduceus plaster out in front. He's trying to get the better of the enemies, and Yannick here, and there it is. Florida take the point and hold it.
It's still not easy. And even there towards the end where they have the huge advantage, right? Soul, they make it interesting. Zebo, he goes out to try and take out Jayhong, and Kuki comes off the spawn as Winston. Starts putting some damage at him, and Awesome Guy falls on the point. Like, if he doesn't get back there, and he falls, you wasted a lot of Valkyrie without healer players. It gets dangerous, man. This series has been fun. It's been crazy.
But you can a lot of the time pinpoint these errors, right? We are seeing where these problems are originating from for both teams respectively. But Soul, having to give up that point is very tough. Tvik, you hit big Riptides, you win fights. Get 2 kills. Remember, against the Mercy, you either want to kill the Mercy with the Riptire or kill 2 people. Either way, make it impossible to resurrect and get the enemy team back to 6 players. You want to come out of that exchange with a man advantage if possible, a player advantage.
I mean, just to remind you guys, that Soul Dynasty sitting at 20 and 15. They lose 1 point here, they drop to 20 and 16. The Outlaws can get to 20 and 16 tomorrow.
That's crazy. Everything getting turned on its head here. Look at this aggression now. Looks like the light at the end of the tunnel is being seen. Oh no, Logix can't get back on. He gets Jayhong in all fairness, but Wakid whip shots him off the edge. Gambler needs line of sight on Wakid, and he does get it, but Wakid drops down. Zebasai, big boops. I cannot lie, I love to see it.
Now we don't see a ton of Lucio. I remember, stage 2, I feel like we saw the most Lucio when people were kind of like, oh yeah, Mercy's not good anymore. And then everyone was like, nah, yeah, she's still really good.
That's always been where, Zebasai's, in my opinion, been at his best. Toby's on the sideline right now just crying, I want to play Lucio, fam. Gambler is on that Mercy.
Look how aggressive the Mayhem are playing this. From like such an odd, of a Doomfist Widowmaker comp, and speed boost is going to come behind.
Oh, this is a train of pain, that's what I'm going to call it. Logix lands on Wakid there. Gets a lot of shielding, of course, because he got a lot of damage. He'll wait around the corner now. Soul, how do you deal with this dude? What are you doing about it? Flatter, nothing. He gets sent backwards into the masonry, and Logix can now set up.
And Fled is their only source of big damage, right? I mean, he's their only DPS player right now.
Yeah, now they've only got small damage, man, from their tanks and the Begitten. Logix does get shield bash, but it doesn't really perturb him very much. He didn't have a chance to use a Meteor Strike to keep himself alive. Wakid managed to find the kill. So how do you respond to this as Soul? How do you beat this composition?
You're going to have Fled play McCree. You're going to use 2 support ults here as they're trying to move their way on in. Manitin does have a grab. See if he decides to use it. He's pretty charged up. There's the Graviton Surge.
By pretty charged up, you mean the Space Jam might have had a big impact, but Logix doesn't get the big damage there. He doesn't find a finish. I'm not quite sure how that didn't work out, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to take a look at it. Didn't exactly
could have been Zunba giving barriers and they just disappeared so quickly because of that damage, but it looked like, I don't know, it looked like Logix just ended up in the, in the local pool.
I was looking at the minimap waiting for the setup, and the setup was good. It's just, the kill didn't come down. Now you're kind of walking into this Graviton Surge from Zunba. You know this is going to be a fight that you're probably not going to be able to win. No support ult. Zebo just switching over to Mercy now. You got what you wanted though. That first comp you were able to get 74% of the point on. So we'll see if they're able to just put it away. They just need 1 flip here.
All right, Graviton Surge in here, and it works out pretty well. Soul manages to prevail in this fight and remain in control for the time being.
So that is expected. When the grab comes down, you have nothing to combat it. Nothing to get a no victory out of that fight with. So now Gambler will have Valkyrie, he'll have a rally against her, and he'll get armored up.
Here's what happened with that team fight. Here's the Meteor Strike in. So where's... Okay, I'm not really sure what happened there. It's broke! It could have been the barriers being given off there as well, but we'll have to we'll circle back around to that one and see what happened. Either way, awesome guy. His barrier's brought down. Oh, that's a very dead Pharah. Logix couldn't dump altitude quick enough, and Florida now bit of a compromising position.
They're making this like a one-fight game for Florida, where you're going to have a Graviton Surge, you're going to have like a Earth Shatter and a Rocket Barrage. It's like your only win conditions here for the Mayhem. So now that they've used Rally, you know they're not going to have it. You think Jaehong may have Transcendence. They're going to try and use a Graviton Surge from Manatin and then get probably a Rocket Barrage, and then maybe you have to use the Earth Shatter as well. We'll see if they're able to do it. The positive thing is the grab comes through. You're not worried about Logix getting Earth Shatter, right? I mean, he's up in the sky, so you're going to have that follow-up damage. Soul spreading out. This is a really good setup.
Florida would love to sort of wrap them up in that grab, but it might be tough. Zeverside's in deep trouble. 3-tap, and it's done. Florida going to find another one here. That could definitely put this one away and keep them in this fight. He gets their headshot on towards Logix, and it's a one-man band marching all the way home. Florida not looking nearly as happy right now. Graviton Surge does connect Manatin. There was no follow-up. There never was going to be, and it was more for stall than anything else, but it's prolonging the inevitable. The Dynasty are going to stay in this map and in this series, and we're going to go all the way, Matt.
And Fleta is able to make that flank while the Mayhem have Infersight up, which is interesting. Tvik uses that Widowmaker ultimate, gains you vision through all the walls. You can see where everybody's at. Still, just comes on the flank. They try and heal up Logix with the Coalescence, but then you don't get the follow-up for the grab, so...
I mean, it's an interesting round. We saw some erratic things there. I wonder if the Meteor Strike damage coincided exactly with a healing tick from Jaehong. It seems unlikely. There's 64 ticks, I think, a second. Yeah. 64 hertz is the data pass rate, I believe. Actually, on this server, it's probably even higher on the LAN client. So curious. We could have missed something completely as well. That's always possible. So let us know. If you want to abuse us, that's fine. Matt's got Stockholm Syndrome casting with me anyway. So we're out of the gates here, and we have a Roadhog here for Fleta. We've seen this before. This is not necessarily crazy from Soul, and I like it.
Yeah, Tvik will play Widowmaker here because you think maybe they run the Pharah on the other side, but be Doomfist again for Logix. They're going to get really aggressive around these big tanks. You have 3 tanks in 3 supports here for Seoul Dynasty. You get onto the point, you're able to take it first. How does Florida respond? Do you stay on Widowmaker here? I think you switch off of it.
Reaper. Interesting.
Oh, we saw Timing play.
Yeah, we saw that on Blizzard World as well, which obviously had quite a big play.
I was playing Junkrat. Yep. It's a good play there from Tvik. So
Demolition Derby has begun. All about breaking down those big tanks. We don't have sort of percent health damage on any heroes in Overwatch, so it's not like they're tank busters, but they just do a lot of damage in general. Fleta, doesn't quite get the hook. Boofed out of the way. Gambler's speed boost maybe made it hard for Fleta to predict the trajectory of that hook or the opposition player.
And they have to be careful, because Tvik's going to chunk them down with a ton of damage, and then you imagine Logix and the Reaper are going to come in, finish them off.
Oh, there it is. What a knockdown there from Kuki. Big Earth Shadow to set up a charge, and Madison gets turned to mush. That's not good for Florida. They've had a very quiet start to the round. Soul can start to snowball, but they did use a lot of the ultimates they had accrued. Gambler's close to the sound barrier, though. They sort of have 2 of those support ultimates online.
Yeah, the Riptire kind of rips on through that, though. So you're going to get a Riptire here pretty quick for Tvik, because he's just pummeling damage down. Because you can just spam your heart away. There's no Zarya on the other side. You're not worried about beating anybody up, so...
Mayhem on the way through here. Awesome guy. Just trying to make use of the Coalescence and sort of stand in it, but Jaehong gets propelled forward. I think he kind of has to use the Transcendence here, but the timing's not terrible. Manatin takes himself out, probably with a right click there. You know, someone got up close to him and he didn't realize how low in health he was. Jaehong is getting battered around, but he's quite durable. Problem is, the rest of Seoul aren't, and Tvik is making their life pretty tough now with all that Junkrat damage over time. Really starts to find its mark. But then Seoul get position. They regroup after being scattered by a lot of those displacement effects, Matt, and then managed to get their ducks in a row. Yeah, what happened there with Manatin is he actually got hooked in by Fleta, and then he was so weak that he actually landed one of those right clicks. Not able to do so. So now Tvik goes over to Doomfist. Okay, so there's a grab here from Florida. How do you spread enough as Seoul while still maintaining point control to avoid this grab?
You kind of have to give like a few players off.
That's it.
That's going to be it.
I don't think there's one. I don't want to be jaded, Matt, but there's not much coming back from that one. You've lost your main source of damage and your tank. Yeah, that big square he's holding up. Yeah, that's how you prevent taking damage. And they're missing the shield of Reinhardt very much right now. Manton again sends himself to the grave. Perhaps he's just done with it. Perhaps he just wants to end it here. But Soul will do that themselves. The reverse sweep, the very first reverse sweep that Soul has managed to put together over an unlikely rival, pushed all the way to the limit. Yeah, Florida Mayhem.
We talked about how Zupe was so good in this series. He was really, out-dueling Jaehong on a lot of maps. This one, though, Jaehong comes out with a great game 5. He's got 26 elims, 14 final blows on this end. Only 3 deaths, a lot of damage, helping Soul over the line.
Yibbity, yibbity, yibbity. That's all, folks. We're going to head over to the desk after a break to break down quite the slugfest. We'll see you in a bit.
If you're in the Los Angeles area, come experience Overwatch League live at Blizzard Arena. For tickets, check out access.com.
And the Seoul Dynasty come back with the reverse sweep, 3-2. Welcome back to the desk, Golden Boy alongside with Brennan Sideshow. And we had some angry Brits here on the desk at the halftime. And you know, I mean, how you guys feeling? Are you okay?
Cooled down a little bit now, I'd say. I don't know about you.
Yes, a little bit, yeah. Because the thing is, Seoul...
Just a smidge.
Just a little bit, yeah. Because Seoul now are not in that disastrous position that they could have been had they dropped this match. But again, it's the same kind of themes, and it still makes me worry about the games they've got coming up in the future. Just because they were able to reverse sweep here does not mean they'll be able to against teams in the future.
Very, very true. Seoul Dynasty, though, now jump into 5th place currently as they're 21-15, and they share that map differential with the Gladiators. Still, though, the battle for the playoffs is so tight at this point, and Seoul Dynasty cannot afford to have more matches like this, especially considering that by all standards, the Florida Mayhem are the weaker team, and they showed up big time. They took advantage of those opportunities. Let's jump to the highlights for Oasis and Dorado and discuss this, because this very much could have been a win for Florida, gentlemen.
It definitely could have, yes. But I think our point at the halftime was that it doesn't look like Florida's doing anything crazy. It's that Seoul are really underperforming. And I feel on Oasis particularly, whatever they did at the halftime, just drinking Michael's secret stuff, that was able to get back into the game, and they look like a much better team. So this is what happens when the Seoul Dynasty decide not to play like an awful team. They actually are a better team. It's about being able to realize that potential and the consistency, because if they fluff up like this again, some other team is going to be able to take advantage and win.
But this is still, like, the fact that they scraped by with a win here is not
it's not impressive.
No.
Yeah, it's a bit worrying, really, for them, because the competition that they're going to be going up against is actually pretty tough. Now, the one guy who really did try and keep them into this game was Logix, I feel like. We need to talk about this guy because he was having great performances throughout the entire match. He was filling big shoes in the former Sire player, but still actually performing well, despite the fact that they haven't really been fielding him that much. He was still pretty imperative in them getting a lot of these close engagements in these team fights. This one was a close one. It was actually very impressive by Florida to take this in the overtime and cap out all 3 points on Dorado, but then Seoul ended up coming back regardless of that. In general, I gotta say, Seoul, you can tell the potential is there for them to actually step up and pull up the bootstraps and then get to work and actually turn around a lot of these common mistakes they're making. You see glimpses of it in their play every now and then. A tiny glimmer of hope.
I just hate hearing that. I just hate hearing, like, Seoul, the potential is there. It's like, yeah, duh. Like, it should be.
It should be.
I mean, this is like one of the best teams in the history of competitive Overwatch. And you mean to tell me that now we're saying the potential's there?
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah. Before the Overwatch League, they were the best team in the history of competitive Overwatch. And now coming into it, I don't think anyone would be able to say that anymore. Other teams like NYXL at the moment have really overtaken them in that kind of regard in terms of the history of their team. Yep. So it's a little worrying for Seoul. But the final match, the final map was kind of a microcosm of everything that had happened here. Because the Seoul Dynasty went up to 99% and then get off the point, and then Florida Mayhem just come all the way back and are seemingly uncontested. Jaehong had a great beginning to this match.
Yeah, he played well.
Mitch was going crazy about it, but it's great to see him be able to perform like this. He's, generally a little more passive player. I don't think the meta quite fits him with the kind of carry Zen role.
I'd forgotten what Jaehong in the kill feed looked like for a short while until then, apparently. And it's nice to see him stepping up back to that previous role, especially. But Florida, they're going to be kicking themselves at this match. Because this was winnable at so many opportunities for them. On this last map in particular, and to be defeated in a reverse sweep, never a fun time, really, is it? And it is going to be affecting them mentally, I feel like. A lot of teams, they get shaken when they lose in this fashion, when they get rocked this hard, essentially, when the game was just within their grasp like that. So I do feel for Florida, well done to Seoul for managing to not choke and actually win the game in the end. Good on you, lads. Well done. Keep it up. But they do still have a tough path ahead of them.
Yeah, very true. And it's only going to get more challenging from here for the Seoul Dynasty. But now we have to crown a player of the match, sponsored by Omen by HP. That player is
not Dia.
Fleta.
Not Dia this time.
Fleta from the Seoul Dynasty. And again, I mean, he had a real standout performance on Blizzard World. Despite them losing it, he did play pretty well. And then from there, kind of just kept the consistency going, and that's what earned him player of the match.
Yes, on Oasis as well, great McCree performance, and then able to pull it out on Widowmaker. So and then Nepal as well coming out with a great McCree. So I think in general, this guy has got the most potential out of anybody on Seoul. He just needs the rest of the team to be able to play around him, to be able to reach those heights. And sometimes Seoul decide not to play like a super good team.
Yeah. Sometimes they make that decision. And that is why Fleta, though, is your player of the match. A good showing from him, without a doubt. Saw a sign in the crowd that said Sideshow's the main attraction. That is not true.
Whoa!
Where's that sign? Where is that sign?
This desk.
Can you give me that sign?
Really, this desk should be called Sideshow and the Sidekicks, I think.
No, this
I think that's
sign.
what it should be.
You see, if I wasn't so respectful of our community, I would just rip this sign in half. Rip it in half.
He spent hours crafting
I'm
that
kidding.
sign.
No, hey, it's for you, Sideshow.
Thank you.
It's for you. Here, give it to him.
Okay, there you are.
Thank you.
Yes.
There's some fine print at the bottom that says, or at least his hair is. So
Yeah, well done.
Yes.
They did a great job on
it's
that.
all gone now.
I cannot believe this. This is the world we live in. Okay, well, guys, we got one more match to close it out for the night. It's going to be the Boston Uprising against the San Francisco Shock. We'll catch that in a little bit, and we'll see you on the other side.